In 3, 2, yeet. Yeah.
Hey, man, the bitch Jey Uso is now in your city. It's just me, okay. Day one, it's just me, Day one, it's just me, okay. Day one, it's a lot of more love, but knock 'em down like this. I did. Hey, it's on me now, Hey, I'ma get 'em all.
Hello and welcome to Spotlight, the official podcast of GRAPPL. I'm Benno.
I'm JP.
And I'm Matty.
And we're here, lads. We're in the mood. Yeet. Is that the catchphrase of the day, Matty? It's official.
Of the day? Of the year, Ben. Come on. Of the year. Come on.
How excited have you been to be here?
Ben, I tell you, I've been looking forward to it so much. Like, the reaction I had, Ben, seriously, I can't describe it physically. JP, I can't. I'm not, I don't want to jump ahead, but when they were on the apron and I just thought Cena had this all day, I was thinking, it's John fucking Cena. What year is it going to win this Royal Rumble? And I jumped out my seat, JP, when he won, honestly. Like, loved it so much.
Have you calmed down yet? Have you come round? We do apologise for doing it on the Tuesday. We did plan on doing a Monday spotlight. It'd be worth the wait, I think, Matty, to see your smiling face. And my eating face if you saw the end.
Yeah, that's it. JP, I've been honestly just been looking forward to it so much. Like, it's just, you know, for good, bad or ugly, like, it's just caused such a reaction, hasn't it? And that's like, sometimes that's all we ask for in the wrestling sphere that we're in, JP. It's just caused so much of a discussion that, like, and we're going to dive into it ourselves tonight, mate. But I think you'll be maybe the man in the middle, JP. I'm not too sure what that we're going with.
Well, yeet, 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 Lottie. So there you go. That's my raw
Matty's
review. It is, isn't it? Yeah, I don't know if I will be the man in the middle. Maybe I'll be the contrarian this week. Who can tell?
JP, it is, mate. It's just honestly, like, it is. I can't. It's one of them moments, JP, where, like, they don't happen often anymore. They don't, for me. You know what I mean? Like, wrestling becomes, like, whether it's predictable, whether it's and that's not always bad, JP. Like we always say, sometimes wrestling is predictable as long as it's good, well laid out, well told stories and stuff. But I honestly weren't expecting it. Even when he was the last two, like I said there with Cena, I just wasn't expecting it at all. And that's the great thing about it for me.
There's things about this, and when we get into the match and we get into the stuff around the match as well, just from an odds perspective, like, it was one where, like, bookies weren't expecting it. And like, there's, if for no other reason, like, the levels of debate that I've seen around this Royal Rumble feels like it surpassed most other Royal Rumbles. And again, just through people knowing that I watch wrestling, people I'm not expecting talking about the Royal Rumble, saying yeet to me, I'm having to grit my teeth at work when they say it, because I'm like, I don't even know where to begin with some of this. But yeah, Benno, I can only imagine what your live reaction was to all of this as it was ongoing.
We'll get there. Well, I'll throw out there now that it's been my work on our back.
It is. You're good, Ben.
It
is.
You're good. I think Matthew's taking full control of things here. Where it is Dealer's Choice Month. Just to throw a quick plug in, we will be we're starting our Dealer's Choice Month this month. If you're not on the Patreon or the YouTube, it's always a great time to join us. We do have an amazing, I expect an amazing lineup of shows coming from you guys. Few fun ones. Usually we put ourselves through all kinds of punishments. And first up this time, I've took it easy on you lads. I've given a bit of a PWG from the mid-2000s. PWG's European Vacation, their first and one of very few European shows they did, but definitely their first British show is my choice. Did that shock you, Matty? Were you expecting more punishment? I don't know. You haven't watched it yet. It is PWG in a British setting. So
that's what I mean, Ben. You had me a PSG. I was going to say it's another Dealer's Choice, JP. PWG. You had me, but then when you said it was European Vacation, Ben, I was like, oh, but then you did list off some of the participants on there and some of the bouts on there, and
Cody fights AJ Styles, screams.
That's the one. That's the one that screams me.
Kevin Steen, El Generico doesn't scream Gareth after last week, but maybe we'll turn him. Yeah, something for everybody there, JP.
Oh, there is, absolutely. This is
a bit of Avi Mayan, you know, for the old school British names.
That's it. You've got the, like, I think as like what Gareth said on the pre-show, the idea of people who we would have seen around the scene, people who just disappeared off the scene, and people who became massive stars. And it's just like a combination of them as they wrestle in Kent. And you're just thinking to yourself, this is kind of bonkers it happened. And I also mentioned it on the pre-show as well. I got to wear the fine PWG T-shirt you had there when I had my bag nicked by those bastards in Oberhausen. I'm still bitter about 5 years on. So more than that, she's 7 years on now. Christ. Like, that is, like, I'm really looking forward to seeing it because I've no expectations of what this is going to be like whatsoever.
I'm not sure it's a good show, but it's a notable show. It's a good historical show. And there's so many people in there that it's just like, fucking hell, they're on that show. Frankie Kazarian randomly, people like that Kazarian, like saying a very, very young Steen in Generico, and a young Benno front row in a Ring of Honor t-shirt, which was the style of the time, and a pair of baggy jeans because I was still doing that. So I'm looking forward to Matty's reactions, to my reactions in the front row and that. But I'm kicking us off this month. I'm expecting Matty to come up with something wild. JP, you've got like you said, you're going to be going maybe a bit left this year. Looking forward to hearing what yours is, and Garrett's got a bit of time to build up to it as well. So should be some fun choices, and all of those shows will be live. That's the other thing this month. Obviously, we talked about it last month, and as grandfather it in, we're going to be starting doing our retro bonus shows on a Sunday live for our patrons. That's where the pre-show will live. So yeah, we should have had a big ceremony there, Matty, signing off on possibly the last spotlight pre-show.
I know, yeah.
Still will be a pre-show. Still will be a scran of the week every week. It'll just be taken on Sundays starting this month. So what better way to start it off?
Of course, Ben, and as always, Dealer's Choice is always one of the better months, isn't it? You know, twice a year we do this, and as you say, it's all about... The original concept was, will one of us break the seal? It was me last time with Randall, but I promise you this time around, guys, I won't put you through it as much ever again, probably, as I put you through it that. But it is always a good time to get on board with Dealer's Choice, for sure, Ben.
There we go. Well, on that note, we should get into what we are here to talk about after taking that side step. Always got to get the plugs in. But it is time to talk about the Royal Rumble. We've given it long enough. I feel like I should give you the floor first, Matty. I think people are... I think you're expecting certain takes on this one. The Discord was a fun place on Saturday night. It was busy on Saturday night. We had a few new people joining us as the Rumble night went on. Even you look like you were staying up a bit for it, JP, on Saturday night at 11 p.m. PLA is never a bad thing. But it was a fun old night on Saturday.
I was... Great night on Saturday. Look, Matty, you take the floor.
No, it's one of them. Like, where do you want to start, though? Do you want me just... Like, I've pretty much given you my initial reaction, my happy reaction before at the opening, but just to reiterate that, like, I haven't been as happy as that with the results watching a wrestling show. And I don't know how long, and we're here every week breaking it down. You guys more than me, breaking everything down, being an analyst, whatever you want to call it.
Charlotte will main event one of the days.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I was double happy, really, if we're going to mention that in the Women's Royal Rumble as well.
Based on Raw, you're the only one who was happy.
I know, and we'll go into that. But it just is sheer happiness. But like, if you want to break it down, like we're gonna talk, like we had all the other
discourse, Matty. Been a lot of negativity, a lot of conversations. Some on our Discord, some elsewhere, some on other podcasts. It's definitely been a divisive thing.
It is, Ben, and it comes down to that again. It's wrestler being good in ring versus wrestler, being over, being charismatic, being whatever you want to call it, connection with the crowd. But that's where it comes from, and that's the investment, and that's the investment in the characters and your emotional connection to them, where it comes in for me, especially like with Jey Uso. Like long-time listeners will know our debates we've had, Benno, and such over the bloodline and stuff over the years. But for me,
I'm looking forward to hearing this quote.
Yeah. But it's we can say I'm sure we'll go into it. Was this a match Triple H had originally booked down for WrestleMania, or has he changed it because of the reactions of the fans with Jey Uso? But okay. But if you're looking at it from a long-term point of view, which I always do with the bloodline, Benno, it's been kind of touted this way for years. It has, and that's whether it's going to take how long to get there. this has been the direction. I obviously wanted it 2 years ago,
well.
as you'll misquote me, saying I should be world champion. I said for that story, it would have been the correct ending.
You said he should have beaten Roman Reigns after the 500-day reign and won the world title.
Not should have. If he would have, it would have made sense in the story. That's what I said.
You said it was happening. Not even should have. You said it was
okay. We'll go back and listen to the tapes one day. We will. But this is part. This is part of that. Whether it was a breaking thing, this is the transition of that character. Whether you want to say it took too long or not, this is the trajectory that character's been on since he's left the bloodline, and there's no arguing with that because that's what's happened.
There absolutely is.
Go on, then.
When we had that conversation, then he didn't have the YEET catchphrase, he didn't have the song, he didn't have the entrance.
Okay,
this is happening because of all that. You're telling me it's a long-term story. It's not even a 4-week story. It's not even a 2-week story.
It's a 4-year story, mate.
It absolutely isn't.
No, it is. Go on, sorry, you take it away first.
Listen, you. I said this on the Discord. You Jey Uso people can have your victory lap. You deserve it. I'm happy for you. It's a nice story. How can anybody watch that Raw from last night? Because we are recording this after Raw, which is a positive. See that crowd reaction. See the way that segment went, like the real emotion behind it, and not think, you know what? That's actually quite a nice thing. And there's positives and negatives, I think, to Jey Uso winning the Royal Rumble. I think our type of audience are going to be leaning very much towards the negatives, but I do see some of the positives in there as well. But you can't tell me at the end of Saturday night's main event, how many weeks ago now? A week ago? that anybody, even the most hardcore bloodline paying attention to this story, people thought that was the direction, thought that was the story they were telling. Like, after that non-event of a Saturday night's main event match, like, did you genuinely think, Matty, that we were seeing the WrestleMania main event take place in front of us? That's where I think there's some...
No.
I think you need to temper it, because I think you could have a victory lap here, Matty. But if you go too far, you're not having it. I'm not letting you.
No, it did. But I use one of your lines. I'll use one of your lines right back at you. You're the king of this line, where both things can be true, Yeah, I agree. Coming out to Saturday night's main event, no one thought Jey Uso would win the Royal Rumble. Shout out to Tom G on our Discord, the only guy who picked that, because he looks obviously looking closer than even I do with the promos and with the stuff to put on
10
TV.
Minutes talking on the weekend.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not gonna. Ben, I'm holding my hands up to that. I didn't think he'd win the Royal Rumble. I'll hold my hands up all day long about that. But that can be true. But it can also be true that the story they have told is that one day Jey Uso will leave the bloodline, will be his own man, will become a main... That the gimmick, like all users are running down, you and Gareth, and fair play to you, that he's not a main eventer, it's just a gimmick. This is the story that they're telling, so both things can be true there, Benno. If it got put on hold, fair play, after Saturday night's main event, of course I'll hold my hands up. But the overall arc of that story cannot be denied, that one day he's going to step out of Roman's shadow and be the world champion. That is always what they're going to go with. So both things can be true. That's where they stand.
I mean, he's not going to be the world champion, is he? He's going to be...
here we go. So he's not going to be Gunther? He's not but you're changing the goalposts again.
No,
it is, though, isn't it? It is. So if you've got to be the guy, you've got to be the face of the
main
company.
event WrestleMania. That's the big pushback everyone's going to give.
Of course,
of course. It's a gimmick, isn't it? It's a gimmick. It's a nickname, main event Jey Uso. It's a gimmick that he's main event in WrestleMania. Raw had, 3-4 different people talking about main event in WrestleMania. Cena's still talking about main event in WrestleMania against Cody. Yeah. I made the joke before, but you could make the argument Charlotte's going to main event WrestleMania. He's not.
They've always used that.
I agree with that starting point. It's like the 5th or 6th most important match at WrestleMania. It's not. It might even open. It's not at the realm of. It's not at the realm of possibility they put it on last to make a point of it. But it's not the most important, or in that I would say even the top 2 most important, maybe even top 3 most important matches that are going to be on this WrestleMania.
But this is where, once again, Ben, it's the emotional connection, isn't it? And obviously we're looking at it and Roman, Punk, whatever's going to happen with Cody, yet they're bigger stars per se at this minute, of course they are, so they're going to feel important. But then I look at the same time and go, well, this is probably, as you say there, one of the best emotional stories they can tell, with all that, of the long-term and short-term side of it. So why can't it? Why should, that's for the title as well, whether it is... But whether it is the beat, so you're putting Gunther down as well. No, but he put Gunther as well. So is he
Gunther
getting discredited and all this? Fair play. Okay, fair enough. I can't believe.
I'd like him to. I'd like him to.
But why can't they? I'm asking that question. Why can't that be the main event when Roman and Punk's going to be? If Seth Rollins added to that as a freeway, you'd want that as main event over Jey and Gunther as well. Come on. What's the stakes in that though? This is for the title at least, don't you think? So Seth's getting left out.
It's for the title, but it's for
the beat championship. Yeah, you say, of course it is. Yeah, it is. It's Seth Rollins' belt. The Gunther belt though, which he's made established great, had a great year with it. So I'm with you. If I had the gun to my head and you said, will it main event? I'll probably say no. But I want it to so bad. Like, I really want it to be so bad. And I want him to close, even if it is night one. What a better way to close the show. But then I can see it, as you say, opening the show like that. So, yeah. Geordie's out on that one.
I think that's, like I say, I think my take on it is very clearly coming out of Saturday night's main event, this was not the match. I think you'd do so many things differently at Saturday night's main event if they were going in this direction, or if it was by any chance going to be the WrestleMania main event, like, because clearly it's not. I think that's categorically true. Can it be is it a logical booking decision? I actually think yes. Like, this is where I think I'm more on your side, Matty, in that, like, we talked about it on Weekend Show. We sat there and we were trying to work through who was going to win that Rumble. And I went Cena. And the reason I went Cena was because, to me, and I think it's still the case, we're getting Roman Punk, we're getting Cena Cody, and Gunther. We were on that show trying to work out, okay, that's going to be third or fourth from top. Who's his opponent going to be? And we were joking about it, going, whoever his opponent's going to be might be the one to put the bets on. That might be the one to go for, because you probably get good odds on whoever Gunther's opponent was. And we sat there for 5 to 10 minutes.
Did we say Chef and that, didn't we?
Yeah, the word Jey Uso didn't come up in any seriousness from either of us. I think that's with good reason. That doesn't mean it's not, in some ways, a good booking decision. I think it's the negative, and there are pros and cons to everything. The negative is the winner of this Royal Rumble is a mid-card / upper mid-card wrestler. I just don't think you can get away from that. You can give them all the nicknames you want, but like, that's a story and that's a character. I think we actually agree there, just in very different ways. But if you can get away from that and you can accept that negative, and that maybe definitely, I think the feeling a lot of people are coming out of it wasn't necessarily that they wanted Punk to win or they wanted Roman to win. I think a lot of people were underwhelmed coming out of the Rumble. I think a lot more people like you, Matty, were excited and happy and invested in Jey Uso and didn't really care that other people were underwhelmed by it. But I think all that can be true, and there can still be positives to this. I think there are positives in that it maybe makes you think over the next couple of years of Royal Rumbles, anyone could win. Like, we sat there going on Weekend Show, well, it has to be Punk, it has to be Cody. So it has to be Punk, it has to be Roman, or it has to be Cena, because really, who else is going to win a Royal Rumble with all them in it? Next year, I'm going to be sitting there looking at Yvette's going, well, they gave it to fucking Jey Uso, so, it could be anybody. But I think that's if we're realistic about what this was, and I think what this was just that chess of pretty much what we were discussing last week, that, well, if we're doing, and the matches might change, the positions might be slightly different than this, if we're doing Cena Cody, if we're doing Roman Punk, then we might as well use the Rumble to give a bit of juice to I guess at that point they decided Jey Uso versus Gunther, and it has given it juice. It absolutely has. A match that's probably not going to be good with a wrestler who isn't a top guy had an incredible response on Raw. The two things aren't, unrelated, as our friend Michael Hamflet will often say. People are invested in Jey Uso. I think it's just a case of right place, right time, and the opening was there to do it. And I think actually, from a booking point of view, it's not a bad thing. I think it's actually an example of possibly good booking.
But this is it, like, and also, I know you're saying it with Jey Uso, and that's the thing, like, giving it to a Jey Uso. But, like, even, like, as you say, I'll agree with you. I didn't even say the words because, like, but it's in plain sight, though, Benno. Like, this guy's over. Like, this isn't just a thing where it's just, he's been over for a long time as well. This character's grew week by week organically. He's been given so much TV time. Even if he is just an entrance for most weeks, he's on that TV every week. Full arenas, full stadiums are with him. They're with him all the way. And I know they can over-egg it with the commentators joining in and all stuff like that, which people don't like. And I get that myself. It annoys me at times. But what doesn't is the guy himself. As you say, it's a great story. And you've been watching the real, like, obviously the wrestling story side of it. And as you say, he comes across as a nice guy as well, with the kids and stuff like that. He's just an all-rounder with the fans. Honestly, Ben, it's, as you say, it is good booking. from that point of view. But even I'll say about Saturday night's main event, it's just like after that. But then people will say, like a Tom who watches it closely himself, he did give that promo on Raw. Once again, it's in plain sight where we just think, all right, he's just entering the Royal Rumble. I can beat you, Gunfair. It's I don't agree with that. We're retconning it, because why would they do it as well? Once again, I'm even trying to say, well, everyone thinks they're going to win the Royal Rumble, don't they? But he threw that Gunfair line in there as well. So once again, it's in plain sight, which I wasn't even thinking, oh, all right, Jay, you know what I mean? But I'm just so glad it's happened, and we'll see what happens. The build-up's going to be great.
To push back on that, he's over. He absolutely is. Like I've seen you. I thought you were going to come all guns blazing and go, he's the most over wrestler in the company. I mean,
but he is. Don't you think?
He's more over Cody. More over than Roman Reigns.
Week to week, Benno. And I'm not. You know me. You know me.
He's not.
But Roman's not there every week, is he? He's not. Is he?
I'm not going to go the other direction and say he's Fandango, because he's not.
Come on, Ben. You can't even mention that. I don't even like you just mention that, though. You don't even mention it, though.
He's not.
Wow.
He's not. It's not Fandango. It's not. And I've seen that genuinely said. I think you've got to give it more credit than that. The entrance and the catchphrase and all of that stuff isn't completely divorced from the man itself. Like there's degrees to this stuff, I think. But I think the entrance and the catchphrase are maybe more over than the man. Just not as much more over than the man than a Fandango example would give you. It's not that. It's higher than that. The investment is there. Again, look at Raw. Like, that does exist there. But I think the two different things. I think that can be true. And the decibel level in the crowd can be loud when he comes out. But that doesn't... It depends. I suppose it's what we mean by over. But he is not more over or a bigger star than whatever terminology you want to use than Roman Reigns, just to throw an example back at you.
Well, he's not.
Cody Rhodes,
but he's not there every week.
There are other people on the roster. But as far as someone who's got the goodwill and someone who's... It's like... the other example people throw out there, I've said it before on here, the Jim Duggan example. It's hot... Calm down. It's a hot WWF at a time where clearly Hulk Hogan's the top star, but clearly, there are other guys on the roster who are extremely over as well because it's the hot time. And Hacksaw Jim Duggan was that guy then, and there were other guys like that at the time as well. It didn't mean because the USA champ was that loud that Hacksaw Jim Duggan was on Hulk Hogan's level.
This is bad.
There are two different conversations. It's not bad. You can't argue that he's... I only threw it out there because I assumed you weren't going to say it.
What, wrestler
he's not more over than Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, CM Punk. Like, he's not. He just isn't. Like, his entrance gets a loud reaction. It's not completely divorced from who he is. He is over, and people care about him. But he's still Jey Uso. Like, he's still that notch below those guys. Like, I think that goes without saying. I think if you go too far in that direction, that's where I'd push.
Yeah, but how are you ever going to ever step up to be on the level of them guys you just named then? How's he ever... So he's never going to do that?
To be a good wrestler, which Jey Uso isn't. To be a good promo, which Jey Uso isn't.
Well,
but he's great at what he is.
Yeah, a promo. Maybe not in ring.
But he's obviously not on that level with those guys. He's just not. He's not that level of star. He isn't.
Okay, I don't know. JP, wait there. Just go on, because I'm just Fandango and James. I know, but
one example. Do you genuinely think he's more over than?
No, I don't. But I'm just saying he's not there every week. Roman, let's leave Roman out of this for once. For once,
if Roman was there every week, or him and Jey Uso, just 1-to-1 like that. You can't question that. He's clearly... I'm not saying he's big. He's bigger than Roman, but I'm saying how does he get to that next level? And you're saying it's because his wrestling's not good. His promos aren't the greatest in the world, but they've got their own uniqueness to them. In the ring, I'm not saying he's the greatest wrestler in the world at all. But people to say at the same time, just to throw that in with this, I think people are doubting the Gunther as well, which I don't like, that the match is going to be... People say because the match is going to be shit. I don't think the match will be shit. The one at Saturday night's main event wasn't amazing, but it wasn't bad because Gunther's in there as well. So that's completely nondescript. And as was their other match.
But I can't believe... Meltzer give that 4.5, and I can't believe what I see. And I'm just saying, so is it now? I remember... Okay, I'm just saying...
It wasn't important enough for you to join us on the show.
I'm just saying... But they're not... No, what my point is...
How unimportant and uninteresting that match was.
But as you say, because you break it down... Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because you break it down and say... The way it's laid out on a Saturday night's main event, the way it's laid out on a Raw, I think the IC title match was good when Jimmy caused. The good matches, yeah, they're not great, but this has got the chance to be because at a bigger stage, they might do more, it might go longer. Gunther's in there again, so I think it's a possibility to be real good.
A moment to be better.
Yeah, Yeah. JP, sorry.
But we go back to that conversation. You don't, just to answer the question, you don't think Jey Uso is? You would agree with that? He's not. He's not the most over guy in the company, which is what I would take issue with you saying on the Discord. Like he's not
the most over guy in the. But, okay, so what do you define as the most over guy? Say it again. The most one of the. So he's not. He's one of. He's not the. You're saying then. You're not saying he's the most over guy. Every time he comes out, a paying full stadium. Overness, his matches, people are into his matches as well. Whether it is the yeet stuff, whether it's just that.
The Saturday main event's a good example. The silence during that match was deafening. You don't necessarily get that with these other guys. Elements of his act are massively over. He is over, but he is not as over as those guys. Like,
but I think this is a chance to join them at this level, then, isn't it? And as I say, how is he going to join them guys if he doesn't get the chance of the same? Because he's done enough on his own without getting it. Okay, fair enough.
He's not, because I mean, they're giving some juice to a nice upper mid card WrestleMania match.
Oh no, you're using them nice upper mid carders now. No, as I say, this isn't one of them. As you say, where no, but I'm just saying, you're saying with like a fan down. It's not as if he's just plucked this guy and went right. We're just going to capitalise on it. Yeah, that's what I mean. This has been built. This whole thing's been built along. People have been on the journey with him since the Bloodline. People liked him in the Bloodline, Benno. This is 2-3 years ago. They were sympathetic to him. Now they're reacting to him when he is on his own. So it's a bit of...
You've hit some magic there, haven't they, with the entrance and the catchphrase and all that stuff, and it makes...
That's part of the story, though, getting his own identity, because he's not a twin. He's not a tag team wrestler anymore. You give him all this, he stands out, and look how over he's got. That's all I'll say about it. JP joined the conversation.
He's gotten more over than I expected him to get. I'd agree with that.
Thank you. Fair play.
You still shouldn't have beat Roman Reigns when he shouldn't have taken Cody Rhodes' spot at WrestleMania.
Oh, he's going to go back to that one, isn't he, JP? Go on, mate. Join in.
He is more over than I thought he thinks. Absolutely.
I'm completely torn about it, because if you're asking me what my personal opinion is on this, would this be something I would have done? No. There were other stories I think that were better to tell. I think the issue almost is there's stuff about like even the fan base you've got to think about for this, of like, what is this current incarnation of WWE interested more than anything else? And this show was the example of this. It is entrance pose catchphrase. And I think this was the only time they ever could have done this with him, because I wouldn't have been convinced in a year's time that this would have died a death. Do they need to do this with him? This is because it's the secondary world title. This is the one that you can get away with it. I think the problem lies that when you... And I also think there's an element of them wanting to, frankly, make Elimination Chamber seem much more must-see as well, which is going to be so stacked for the people who are in that match as well. And that's in a stadium. And they've sold 26,000. They've got it currently set up for 30,000. They could do up to 40, I would imagine, easy, even 50. But are they going to end up doing this? I'm really like, I can see the logic for them doing this. I think the big problem is I almost feel, because you have someone win the Royal Rumble, if you have them opening the show, just from an optics point of view, that's terrible. I think you would be starting him off basically, he's won and he's going for a glorified IC title.
You've got history of that, though. Alberto Del Rio and Edge, Sheamus, those other guys.
I always think of Nakamura, AJ Styles, and that's a problem. I think that's a big problem. If you finish with it, you either have to agent the fuck out of it, and loads of interference and stuff like that, the bells and whistles, doesn't really suit this match for what it is, because it's one-on-one. And I think then Gunther has the job of his life. If he can get a WrestleMania, it doesn't have to be perfect, it doesn't have to be incredible, it just has to be entertaining, and people can't die like on their ass, like in there. It can't just like be death in the crowd.
Like his WrestleMania match last year.
And that's the problem. That's the logic of basically
like Roman Reigns and SummerSlam. Like every big match he's ever had.
Okay, but Gunther's in there, a great, even I'll say a great wrestler. You know what I mean? A different concept.
Massive test.
As I said before, bigger stage, longer time, Ben.
I get when it comes to the overness stuff, I think what is over for this current version of WWE is things like it's the entrance and the... I was thinking about this today. In many ways, it's like I'm viewing him as like a version of the Sandman, just without the beer and the fags. And it's just like, it's this cool entrance that everyone completely buys into. and then a match starts. And you're just fucking praying that Jim Fullington isn't pissed, so that you isn't too pissed, so you can get away with it. And I think that's kind of where I am with this. It doesn't sit right with me, but I also accept the fact that I'm in the minority here. And then it comes into, as I'll talk about other stuff on the show, where I go, there's stuff that I've heard people go berserk over, and I just don't see it. It just feels like it's kind of lost on me. But then that feels like modern day WWE to me. Like, you know, I found myself watching Raw and seeing the promo stuff, and I was thinking, this guy still, even though it was an emotional promo and things like that, he's still not a great promo. He isn't a main eventer in those conventional kind of metrics. It's just that there is the crowd have latched on to his entrance, the chant, and the kind of hand movement, because it feels like that's part of the spectacle of the show. The issue is at WrestleMania is there has to be a match that then follows. That needs to last at least 20 to 25 minutes for it to have any kind of substance to it. The crowd has to be with them for that match, for that ending to kind of mean something, for this to work. And I'm just not convinced that he is the guy to be able to do it. Is it worth them doing it? And this is the other thing, is the timing of this. They're doing this in the Netflix era. So it feels like the changes in booking for this, because I'd agree with Benno, you go from Saturday night's main event, this is not the direction saw coming, like, at all for this. It's a good pick in the sense that it's very left field, and it does throw up that anyone can win this, and that's kind of good. But it also then kind of creates, as a result of this, like a booking logjam with other people. And when I was thinking to myself, a Roman Punk Rollins triple threat, that's my idea of hell. Like,
I don't like that at all, though, as well.
Roman Punk, I'm fine with. I just don't want anything to do with that cowboy hat wearing prick. He is. You said this before, Benno, with Seth Rollins. You add him to anything like this, and it is subtraction by addition. And the problem is having Jey Uso win this has kind of created that logjam. And I don't know what clever way they can use to get around that as well. And it's like, well, is it worth the logjam? Is it going to be actually pay off long term? And I have to say I'm completely undecided, because I'm relying on someone who I've seen shit the bed, frankly, on big shows, not shitting the bed this time round.
Yeah, and it'd be the biggest surprise if he does pull it off. And again, like, I'm not blind to it. I would say, Matty, that like people like yourself and the people in those arenas have bought into it. Like, whether it was the plan, I don't believe it was. Whether it was a decision I would have made, I don't think it would be. You know, like I say, there are positives to it. Anyone can win the Rumble. There are negatives to it. Somebody who's not a top guy won the Rumble. But are people buying into it based on Raw? They are. Are people going to be buying into it? Like, I was listening to the What Culture lads today talking about, like, there's going to be those run of UK shows, isn't that, on the way to WrestleMania? Yeah. That's gonna carry it as a short-term thing, and it kind of goes to Andy's point in the chat before. Like, is that, you know, he calls this gen's New Age Outlaws, and kind of into, I like that as a comparison. So better than Hacksaw Jim Duggan. But like, just because they get away with it, should they? I think is maybe JP's point. But will they get away with it? I do think the stars have aligned such that they will for this period, for WrestleMania. Will he beat Gunther? He could. He absolutely could. Could he go on last? I don't want to set him for me, Benno. He's got to win. Well, I don't want to set me stall out and say it's impossible they put it on last, because they've just had him win the Royal Rumble, which is a decision I wouldn't have made, and they've made, and they've gotten away with it. So it's not impossible that they might do it, but it seems unlikely with those other players, unless, like JP said, they purposely dilute, you know, a gigantic match in Roman Reigns and CM Punk, or don't have Cody and Cena go on last if that's the other match, or whichever, you know, way that lands. I'm assuming that's the way you see that all lands, Matty. But yeah, like, speak to that point. Does he win? Is there any chance it goes on last? Like, genuinely, do you think? Without me, like, I won't give you grief. Do you actually think it'll go on last?
I'll answer that one first. It could, of course, it can. If I once again, I'll say, like I said before, if I had the gun to my head, I'd say it probably doesn't go on last. But I would put it on last, though. I would, because, and Triple H has, I know it's been Cody Rhodes. And this is me saying it. I mean, you can't, like. Oh, I know it goes to your level of overness, shout you said before, to be fair, but like, Cody Cena, like, is that going to be good? Like, I know that literally is spectacle, though, isn't it? That literally will be. That'll be that's going on the sheer like overness and probably the fans turning on a Cody, or for that to be good, because I'm not looking forward to that at all. It's Cena these days. Like,
based on Cena's performance for the Rumble, me neither, to be honest.
This is it. People forget this, and Cena shouldn't be nowhere near a world title. That should be the story they tell all year, and he wins it in his last fight or something and retires it. They shouldn't have him losing a world title match this year. He should be losing all year, somehow win like a Money in the Bank. That should be the gimmick. Like, he can't get the big one, is 17 and do that.
He should be going for the fake belt. He should be going for Gunther. No, he should. Like, that's what you should do.
I want Jey in there with Cody.
Punk or Roman should have won the Rumble, and then you do that in Cody. But we're obviously not going in that direction. But I suppose I should say it isn't actually. To be fair, hearing you say it out loud there, Matty. Look at the Rock situation with Cody. Look at this whole last year. It wouldn't be totally out of character if they went, Cody, just take one for the team, will you, mate? Would you go on first?
But it's Jey as well.
So we can put Jey on last. Like, it's about as likely as Charlotte going on last, I think.
Yeah.
It's not impossible considering, what a beta Cody has been for a lot of this title run.
But JP, sorry, go on, mate.
I think they are putting on last. I think they're gonna. I think they are just gonna push this to the absolute hill. I don't think they're gonna
make it meta to fight people like me.
Yeah, I think I almost think there comes a point where they will just do this regardless. And if there's any pushback to it, there'll even be more of it because they'll work that into the storyline. Some people say I can't wrestle in the main event of WrestleMania, without kind of ever mentioning the reason that why people feel like that.
But I think as well, lad, sorry.
And in some ways I would do, because I think there's almost like a shit or bust mentality that they have to go with this. If it's going to happen, the thing that has to happen fundamentally in this is not only does Gunther have the match of his life, he has to pull his fucking finger out in the ring. He has to fucking go. If there's anything that Jey Uso needs to go, right, I need to have my cardio fucking down, because he has to go for 20 odd minutes. And he basically, because Walter can do that. Walter can have absolutely brilliant. And in many ways, if it goes right, you have got not one main event star, but you've got
exactly
two.
JP, exactly.
The upside for doing it, I think, is much bigger than, say, Charlotte Flair. Cody Cena is spectacle. I would agree with Matty. I wouldn't have Cena like in. I would have Cena. I'd have Cena Logan Paul.
That's where he gets to win. Cena finally. He gets his mojo back at Mania, but not for the title. Then he's like, right, I can handle this last of the year. Tell that story for the whole year. That's better.
And that was one positive. I thought Jey winning was underwhelming, and I bet on Cena winning, and I predicted Cena winning in all the predictions. But I'm kind of glad it didn't happen. Because I don't think that was great either, was it? Like, it was, again, it would have been a means to an end because we're doing the Cody match. But actually, Cena going over the whole roster probably wasn't the right story to tell either. They were both two wrongs don't make a right, I suppose, but I'm not sure that was right either. But
also, the Royal Rumble, I was sorry to try and butt in there, JP. The last time the winner of the Royal Rumble didn't main event WrestleMania, I think it was 2019 as well. So they stuck to that for a while, to be fair. It was early, mid-2010s, Ben. It was happening all over the show for the secondary belt.
With the women's division, it happens pretty much every
Oh, yeah, of course, with the women's division, of course. And that's its own issue. But I honestly, like, and to go back to the original, I think he's got to win, Benno. Like, he's got to win this. Like, the story that, okay, whether it is a shorter term story of him, like, I can beat you, Gunther, he's lost the last 3 times to him. He's surely got to win with the fans behind him at WrestleMania. He can't lose. He just can't. Because for me, I'll be, and I've already mentioned, I'm fucking there for this. I'm there for this, Benno. I hope you wasn't, because I'll be crying in the arena watching this.
I think the only way this works is with the goodwill of people like yourself, the people who are genuinely invested in WWE. Yeah, I think that you're stretching that goodwill if you then have them lose at WrestleMania. I think
you can't.
They might book themselves into a corner there. I don't like it because I don't like Gunther losing to Jey. So he needs to learn to do that speed a bit better, and then maybe
he does. That isn't the best speed,
especially after Saturday night's main event.
Yeah,
but yeah, they probably booked themselves into that corner. I don't disagree.
Those two lads need to be working on this match.
Cody, Andy's right.
These two lads need to work on this match fucking relentlessly. They need to do basically Hogan Warrior WrestleMania 6, where they have it down to. I think you have to go to that degree of pre-planning, because like I said
DDP
before,
on the phone, JP.
The upside is incredible, and if you're Gunther as well, like the opportunity, and this is something that I think we would all be agreed on. It's like he needs to be basically the next big bad. He needs to be like the next proper big bad. And I loved his promo on Raw, like, because he is just the dictionary definition of justified heel. The stuff he says isn't false. Like, you know, and like the idea that he's angry that his legacy could be ruined because this bloke won the fucking Rumble and I beat him a week ago. Like, I actually like that aspect to it.
He was great on Raw.
Oh, he was. And there's, in many ways, like, that's the kind of, like putting him in there with someone who is, I don't know if lightning in a bottle feels too extreme. It just feels like in this version, he's so over, Jey Uso, and they couldn't ignore it. But there's so many flaws and pitfalls as we've just gone through for this as well. But in some ways, I would just prefer it if they just fucking went with it.
That's
in many ways, you could have great matches in the middle of a WrestleMania card. If we figure that it's going to be 2, 8, 9 match cards, then you can space these almost they have to almost go to what every match has to have substance. They just can't be filler on this because like it's almost like they've put a lot of pressure on themselves. And it's a Netflix WrestleMania as well. And I think there's a part of them who, the beginning of Raw, they did a recap video to that banging Charlie XCX song.
I wanted to
at the beginning. And it made it, honestly, it made it so, like, it made me double take, actually, did I really hate this? Because you watch that, it's like what Sky do at the end of a 0-0 draw, and they put a great music video package at the end of a game of football, and you're like, that was fucking brilliant, that. No, it wasn't. It was fucking bang average, but we're believing it. And they can get away with it. But I think there's just so much pressure because this is the first Netflix WrestleMania as well. And I think what they want to do is they want 70,000 people, including your good self and your wife, Matty, yeeting in the crowd. That's the thing that they want people to take away from it. And given the reaction of a lot of kind of much more casual fans, they're kind of fine with that. I just think that we're so much in the minority, Benno, sadly, about, but yeah, could the match be also decent? I don't think we're wrong at all. But like by the reasonable demands that professional wrestlers could have a good professional wrestling match. And I think there's a lot of stuff where it's almost like they need to sit Jey Uso down and go, right, these have been the problem in all of your big matches. You need to get these fixed, and you've got 2 months in which to do it, and you don't fuck about.
The biggest thing about the finish to the Rumble for me, Matty, is, well, one, how underwhelming it was, but two, never predicted in a million years that like Cena, and I think to be honest, I think the execution of it was underwhelming. Just Cena being on the apron, like little push off.
See, but that's for Cena, Ben. Did he take any real bumps though? Did he? He didn't. That put me like, he can't be in there with Cody taking crossroads and taking moves, because the way he got eliminated spoke.
We thought we might get a Cena who's up for it. We didn't. We got bald spot Cena is essentially what we got. But that was the biggest shock for me, that they were the final two, because obviously leading into it, the other big story in the Rumble itself was Punk, Rollins, and Reigns, and all of the stuff with them, and the curb stomp on the outside, and the alleged injury to Roman Reigns, which sounds like a big concussion, but they don't want to say it. Maybe it's a real one. Maybe a report will come out.
I mean, that was a stiff fucking curb stomp down on the floor, Ben, wasn't it? Fucking
yeah,
hell.
A few people said that. I would have liked to have been in Gorilla afterwards to see what happened there. But that wasn't. I thought, and both of the Rumbles, I thought were they had some moments, especially the men's. The men's had moments. I'm not
men's
sure.
was very good. The women's, for
I
me,
don't agree,
Ben,
to be honest. I don't think structurally it was, but I do think it had big moments towards the end, and I think that was a big moment. That's the thing you're going to remember. It's the shock when Roman and Punk are eliminated, and all of the Seth stuff afterwards. I think most people are going to be drawn to that. Maybe that's all that matters. It wasn't laid out like 2001 Rumble, for example, Matty, that we talked about with the skill of that, but that's obviously something that's going to be jumping out to people a lot.
But I mean, I don't want to pile on to the Women's Royal Rumble, because I think we all will at some point. But that was like, I heard a lot of people say that, but that was the thing when I watched the women's one. Sorry to go to that first. It's like, that was what you said, JP. Though it was the definition of entrance theme. Do your pose at the top of the ramp, taking age to get to the ring.
Well, everyone's trying to figure out who you are.
Yeah, literally do the same spot that the woman before you done. Do a kip up. Next one in. It literally was that, for like, apart from Jordan Grace, Charlotte Flair involved, like seriously, there was a couple. Everyone else done the exact same spot. The men's, I agree, Benno, in that way. I hate the way all the big stars come in one after another. We said that on Royal Rumble 2000. I hate that. They should space them out. And I kind of get what they decided to do with like Jacob Fatu and stuff like that. But once again,
Reigns
they're not on.
I like that.
Yeah, Reigns he was the only one, to be fair. Yeah, and who had him and Pentagon doing double team moves on there, like wish list at any time in wrestling history. I love little stuff like that. But yeah, once you got, your Punk, your Cena's in, all the big stars come in. I don't like that. But I did have a better time. I thought the men's was actually one of the better Royal Rumbles in years. Maybe it was just because of the finish as well, because it was so surprising. But I just, all the way through, I thought it was laid out pretty well. But as I say, not as good as the older ones, but one of the better ones in years.
I don't know if that's praise though, because it hasn't been good in years, has it?
I think,
maybe. Yeah, I know.
I think that's the big problem I found with either both of the Rumbles is, I mean, in some ways, like you think of what are the components of a Royal Rumble? You need to have there's an Iron Man who is generally a more under-heralded star that you're trying to kind of do something big with.
I'm sick of that, JP. Sick of it.
I know. I am after this year particularly because the bloke should have been gone after 30 fucking seconds.
But JP, sorry to cut you off.
Problem, and I think it massively affected the match. Sorry.
That's like, no, I'm cutting you off. I apologise. That is one like I can't like. I'll stick up for most things because I've got a big issue with. Every year, someone's got to set a new record. Someone's got to be the Iron Man from number 1. It's not even from like number 5. This is where I'm a big advocate, and people mightn't like this. If any event should be 2 nights, it's Royal Rumble, because you've got breathing space to have the men's and the women's on separate nights. And even if they are booked exactly the same, it won't feel like it because you're not watching it an hour later. It's got to be done. That is one for me because, yeah, or how can you change a Royal Rumble format at this point as well, though, lads? It's going to be kind of similar. You haven't got these well laid out ones, so unfortunately, a record's getting set every year. Fucking hell.
I didn't have a problem with the Ray and Penta thing, to be honest. Like, I just. Like it might be a sensitive issue for you, JP, but referees get things wrong in all kinds of sports.
You love that one. That's fair play, though.
Fucking Michael Oliver on the outside, clearly, wasn't he?
It was clearly a fuck up. Penta fucked it, but it's not out the realm of possibility that the referees could be incompetent and not call something that was obvious. I think it was fine. I think they got away with it. It wasn't ideal. Obviously, you don't want to do it. And Penta did look a little bit off, and I don't think they tried to make a big deal of the fact that it's Penta and Rey Mysterio, the 2 greatest luchadors of all time, running through spots at half speed, and Penta's a little bit sloppy, and then he literally double foots the floor. Like, there were negatives to it, but I don't know if it was that big a deal, because at the end of the day, you don't have to show the replay, and even if you do, you can go, fucking hell, the ref's got that wrong.
Yeah.
So fire the refs. Like, that can be its own thing. I think that's okay. I think that happens enough, to be honest. I think if we are simulating the sport, stuff like that should happen.
My kind of pushback to that would be that normally when you put someone, particularly like a Penta, who you're really trying to establish in WWE, normally what would end up happening though is you then garner natural sympathy as they're going through. And I think the problem is because it was kind of obvious and they never went back to the replay for a company that loves a fucking replay. Not going back to it made it then all the more obvious. Oh, because I didn't go and like check online when I was watching this because I would have spoiled it. I watched the men's Rumble the next morning. I just went, he's fucked it. And I was watching it. And then I was thinking, in many ways, if he got chucked out now, I don't think people would care. Like, I don't think there was that emotional kind of connection for it. But
I think it'd be worse if they had like a ref put an arm around him and go, sorry, mate, you were actually eliminated 30 seconds ago.
Yeah,
and he was
fucks
just, like,
it up.
Kind of shepherd that out of the ring. Yeah. I think that'd be a terrible way of covering
that would have been worse. I just wouldn't have had him in there for that long.
He was the Iron Man. He had that on the bingo card. Penta being the Iron Man.
Win it once the match is laid out. I mean, it's hard to call an audible in it in a 30-man Rumble, but maybe you can. I don't know.
And I mean, can we go into it? Go on, JP.
Just the other point, I think, with the Rumbles, I was just saying about structurally, in terms of your big Final Four, I think for both the men's and the women's, they ballsed that up. I think in terms of like, and again, these are things playing very much to tradition. Who is going to eliminate most people? Even who's like the monster of it? Like that was kind of messed up because of really the obsession of these are the things we're going to do. We're going to have, like say, entrance, pose, big spot move, pose in the ring. If it's a woman, it's a kip up, and just that rinse repeat again and again and again. And it's just like what they didn't think about is you could use this to just tell better stories. And they had a very bad habit of letting the ring get far too crowded. It's like, you don't need to do that. You can space it. People can be eliminated after 3 or 4 minutes. It's fine. You don't have to have loads of people in the ring. I mean, the women's match was worse for it, where I just questioned, I was like, has this been planned? Have they just told them, you just do this,
women at one point,
they'll build up and they'll call it on the fucking fly?
It was, say they had 6 Saiyan women. Like, it was like, wasn't like, if you were going to tell that story, they were telling it with loads of people.
Which, if there's one and it's Roxanne Perez, I'm sorry, I'm jumping to the women's match. If it's just one and it's Roxanne Perez, then you're doing your utmost to make a new star. And I can, whether or not you like her or dislike her, you can get on board with that because you can see what they're going for. When you have 3 or 4, they don't mean anything. They're just people who went long in a rumble that one year, and by God, these were long rumbles.
Well, I was going to say, Benno, to jump to another story. Sorry, even jumping. Are you saying, you know, audibles can't be called in the Royal Rumble? But apparently, one guy was called in audibles and doing all the spots in it and all his moves. Really, who's that?
LA Knight, apparently.
Fucking hell!
Who wasn't
happy? Would you believe it?
Yeah. I do, to be honest, like Drew could be working, but I think
he's half working. I think
the GNOs he's talking to, like, he's definitely talking to them.
Yeah,
he's definitely the one putting this out there, and they didn't have him on TV this week. I think I buy it. As a shoot, and I get it. I suppose if he's not happy, he's working. Damien Priest at WrestleMania after the best work of his career. But like, it's funny, I'm a Drew McIntyre booster. Like, you know, I've really enjoyed him this last year. All that can be true, and it's like the Jey Uso thing. He can still be the 8th or 9th most important person when I'm putting the WrestleMania card together, even if I'm high on his work. Like, I don't think he should be higher than working with Damien Priest, to be honest. Like, I wouldn't. Would you slide out to slide Drew in? I would. I guess maybe Jey Uso, I suppose, is the answer, but
no, it's not.
He's about where he should be, though, isn't he? Him and Damien Priest is a good upper mid card.
But I respect it, you know. At the same time, though, that's what I mean. I'm all for that. Like, I thought, you know, I know you live for the old backstage drama, but we need more low keys. We need more of these wrestlers that do believe their own shit and that won't. And to be fair, he's got the thing to back it up. All right, people can say Punk, but he carried the burden and the most of that Punk feud, and he's with CM Punk. He does deserve a bit better, but as you said, at the same time, he's hitting that fucking crossroads. It's WrestleMania. Who do you slide out? You know, do you have him and Seth again? You just do him and Seth, don't you? And take Seth out the freeway plan, something like that.
I definitely think LA Knight was trying to book his own shit. He was definitely like trying to he literally got in. He immediately went to the top rope doing stuff on Cena. Like, I think definitely truth to that. I think he was.
But it was
he's got over though because he believes in himself. I like that about him.
Exactly, and it's the fact of it was because it was a bit of an afterthought, his elimination, because he was in the way LA Knight, and when Damien Priest wanted that big moment, and it was a bit sooner than it was expected. It was threw away. It was,
I think it was. I was sorry, I was less bothered by him getting in the way. It was more that it just sort of happened.
Yeah.
And it was in the middle of the match, and it wasn't like it was these two guys that had a face-off in the ring and people are just hiding in the corner whilst this shit is going on, and then he gets thrown out, so the crowd's focus is on that. There was loads of shit going on, and then he was gone. I was like, all right, Drew's gone. Oh, okay, that's early. And then here, and he's just pissed off, and I'm like, yeah, because it did make it seem very nondescript. But then I look at that, that's like a bad planning situation, which then comes back to really the overall point when it comes to how these things are agented. Again, for all of the stats and all of the nostalgia, and there are aspects they added to this Rumble that I'm probably going against the grain that I liked, like the graphics. For people who aren't us,
I didn't hate the graphics, you know. They weren't popular with our people,
I think they're good.
I was all right with them. Yeah, it told me who they were half the time with the fucking
helps you out.
Like, I needed it. I didn't know. No, does
NFL? I mean, I'm not an NFL guy by any means, but I'm sure NFL has constant scoreboards up and constant facts going on. The Prem's getting worse for it over here, JP.
In the men's, once they started using it to count those things, most eliminations, who's been in there longest, like, I think
good. Yeah.
It was okay. I had no issue with it. Yeah, and you can tune it out if need be. But I know it was a popular thing to kind of have a go at, so maybe it's a surprise we're all on board with it, but I was into it.
It's viewer friendly. If you're putting it on Netflix and you imagine that people who aren't going to be watching this and aren't going to know who the people are, you just need to know who the names are. And it's like, well, who's that person? And after a while, they'll figure it out. It just helps them. It's just sort of viewer assistance, really.
You're the solution to that. is to have memorable entrance themes and a video.
Oh.
How would they do it again? Another Rumble where the video of all wasn't just immediately viewable. Like it should have been. Even if you don't recognize the fucking shite songs, there should just be a big fucking thing on screen that says Finn Balor, so that you know it's him. You'll looking around the corner, trying to like look over heads if you were there in the building to figure out who people were there. It's unforgivable because it's been an issue for like half a decade now.
Oh, it is. The music is a fuck me, and it kills it because it is a case of who is this person? I don't know who this is, and it says so much about the music that, and in some ways that it's just they overcomplicate it. It's just like just make it fucking simple. Just make it as a simple fucking theme that's easy for people to pick up, and they associate that theme with that wrestler. Here's a big fucking screen that has their name written all over it. And you go, makes sense.
No wonder AJ Styles got his old theme, was it? Imagine if they given whatever he got. Like that helped with the pop, didn't it? It genuinely helped. I mean, speaking of people like that, we've got to talk some highlights and lowlights. Sorry, I can't believe we've gotten this far, Matty, without talking about IShow Speed. And like, I didn't think I'd be saying that.
Jesus
but that
Christ.
Breaker clip is one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. I made up the Gareth showed the kids the first thing the next morning when he got up. He put it in our group chat, didn't he? Like that. It was great in the moment. Every replay you see of it, every fucking
I think
cam of it is the best one. But it just looks like he gets ran over because he literally. It was Goldberg-esque. The level of not taking care of your opponent, if we're all honest, Bron Breakker was doing there with Speed. And it was his own fault. He took ages to turn around, didn't he? That's kind of why. But that went from
fast. Yeah.
That went from, I think, a lot of moaning of like, oh, I show Speed's in there. And we can argue the point of the millions of views and how relevant those guys are. I'm a Kai Cenat guy. I've always said it. Not an IShow Speed guy, but you know, there is benefits clearly to working with those guys. But like, I think even the people who were most negative on him being in there did not give us one of the best moments of the night because it really did. It was fucking brilliant. Loved it.
I hated the way he came in. Like I just didn't like it.
Tozawa was never getting to the ring, was he?
No,
you could have had him as a why did they have to do that? Just have him win. Just have him. Just have him. He's gonna do it. Just do it. He's got entrance music. He's got a name. Yeah. He's got the screen with his name on it. Why not just do it?
I think I just went, well, fair fucks to him because he has taken, honestly, he should be teaching Jey doing a BTEC and spear studies before that WrestleMania match against Gunther. Because it was incredible. And even on Raw, the way that they combined the 4 different angles they had of the same move, it was just like, it was like a thing of beauty. And he fucking clobbered him. Yeah. And what does it do for Bron Breakker? All of a sudden, this bloke is getting, they were saying 300 million views for this clip. Jesus Christ, and considering Bron Breakker is a mid-carder on the up, like that's the best thing in the world for him. And there's a lot that they'll kind of like take from that. And it'll be, I'm pretty sure he'll end up playing a part in WrestleMania with Bron Breakker. I could just see them easily doing. I'm less bothered by that stuff. As you guys well know,
streaming it from the front row. Nothing wrong with that. Like that was good. It was on Twitch all night. You could have actually watched the Rumble through Kai Cenat's Twitch if you wanted to, but you'd only see it over his shoulder and not really pay attention. Like that's, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it does. They are the current big names in media right now, whether you want it or not. Yeah. Like all of the AMP guys, all of those streamers, like it's fucking. It's an old people thing, I think, and most wrestling fans are like us are a bit old and we don't really get it. But it is the world right now. Those guys are like the big names, and it makes sense if you're gonna work with
even like that spear was obviously amazing, but even like the fall away slam he took off Otis onto the table, the way he just took that as well, like a double whammy after taking that. It was after taking that. You've got to take your ass off to him for that, like. But yeah, it doesn't bother me at all. Like, I just don't know who these people are, but it doesn't bother me.
Was he acting like Daniel Puder backstage or something, and he deserved to have the shit beaten out of him? I was like, did he do something wrong? Fucking hell, he must have just gone in there mortally offended people.
We go for it, JP. They're not coming and taking the piss, are they? You know, well, they don't have no choice, I suppose. But I'd say, can we mention Bron Breakker as well? Even the spear he gives to Roman Reigns was fucking incredible. Like, he's got one of the best spears going to this.
There were way too many spears, by the way, in that Rumble. Like, you should have, like, just Ron, you can do them. You're good at it. Everyone else can fuck off. I mean, we're talking, people who came out, surprises. Joe Hendry, another big talking point. He got his moment, and he looked like an indie wrestler, I would say. I'm not even bothered that Roman chucked him out. Like, it was funny, and it was typical them because, of course, you've got to make the champion of another company look like a geek. And it's a Rumble. You've got to be eliminated at some point. You know, Roman Reigns got eliminated, CM Punk got eliminated, bigger stars than Joe Hendry got eliminated. It probably was a little bit short and sweet the way they did it with him, but he got his moment. He got his big fucking, you know, he got the turn to camera. I just thought he looked indie level in there, like his offense and the way he moved around the ring. He stood out as actually, I mean, that's the thing, is he's not that good, and he didn't look that good in there, but it got one of the bigger pops of the night. So I guess again, similar to that, worth it.
I mean, the idea of the TNA champion being on Ariel Helwani the day off, or like 2 days afterwards, in and of itself feels incredible. Talking about this stuff,
I'll take that as a win. Yeah.
And being eliminated by Roman is one of the, well, it's acceptable because it's Roman.
At least it's Roman.
If he was eliminated by Otis,
it was a little bit Triple H Taz though. It was a little bit Big Brother, Little Brother, like
a little bit. If he'd got, I think the thing I always thought with it is, as long as he went like 10 minutes, like 10 minutes was like, you give him 10 minutes, that's kind of fine. Like, you can kind of get away with that. Ultimately, it'll just be he was in a Royal Rumble and he got a pop and he was recognizable, and they'll look at it as, yeah, we'll get him in and we'll basically get him working on his look. Because I think that was part of the thing as well. It's not that he looks terrible. It's just compared to WWE, who everyone looks like behemoths and they're ripped to the fucking gills. And he isn't. He looks like a bloke at times. A big bloke
his
in
ring
good
gear
shape.
as well. His ring gear looks a bit indie to me, too indie. He just needs a little bit of shine. I don't know what it is. Just
he looked nervous out there too as well. He didn't even nail his pose, I don't think. But well, good for him. Nice moment in it.
Yeah, of course.
Seen him on fucking shows over here, and there he is in a Royal Rumble. Yeah, he talked his way into getting. He
talks very well. Every time
sang his way into it. Actually, is more
he's getting better with them. He's guaranteeing the Cena match as well, isn't he, on this retirement run? That'll happen because he's going to talk himself into it. He is.
Cena and TNA.
He's got the gift of the gab.
Any other thoughts on any of the big moments in there? Jacob Fatu got a fair bit in there. I didn't like that. You had to do the thing with Braun Strowman though, and get like
I'm mixed on it.
I feel like what they did in Saturday Night's Main Event was the way to do it. Just have him smash through him. Great, perfect. Did he really need to get an element of his heat back? Jacob looked great. Don't get me wrong. In the bits of offense, and they had the face off with Roman, which was clearly building to something at some point. That was one of. To be honest, they did a lot of those face offs. I don't think Seth and Roman got the reaction that they were hoping for. No. That one did, though. Jacob and Roman did. It did. I can't believe they didn't do a Cena and Punk one. You would have thought that'd be a gimme in there at some point, or even more with like Cena and Roman or something. Cena was kind of nondescript, but Jacob and Roman was probably the big face-off, I'd say, Matty.
It was. Yeah. I mean, I was mixed on the Strowman stuff. I thought, well, yeah, I wouldn't have had Strowman, but then the way they laid the Saturday night, as you say there, Ben, it was a massacre, wasn't it? But it was no decision, so they're obviously going to have that match return somewhere down the line. Yeah, that's it. So
it's meant to be eliminated by Ludwig Kaiser, won it. Set up a little TV match.
But I didn't love it, but I can see why they done it, because as you say, it would have had something to do with Roman throwing Jacob out and getting more pissed off. But yeah, that'll probably come later down. I'm not saying Braun and Jacob's WrestleMania, don't get me wrong, but Roman in a later down the line.
I will say an undertalk moment on then. I thought it was a really big one. Was obviously when Solo Sikoa came out of the 30 most important wrestlers in WWE. Oh wait, no, he didn't. That's weird, Matt. You think he'd be in the top 30 when you?
I tell you what, then. It's me weird mixed. It's like the big man deserves a little vacation because I've been carrying the TV for a full year. But I'm worried. But I am getting worried if he doesn't come soon. He's got to get back in the Mania season mix, lad, because I'm all for. He hasn't. He's had that one thing where it got changed on the. No, he's been on SmackDown once, Benno, where the reports come out that he changed it at last minute. Oh no, sorry, not wrestle, but he had that promo where he was gonna admit defeat to Roman, but then they changed it last minute where he just dropped the mic and didn't say nothing because obviously the heat he's still getting's amazing. But I don't know, Ben. I'm with you. I'm all for having time off because he carried it for a year on TV. He was, whether you liked it or not, he was there every single week. No, he's there every single week, but you can't be missing a Rumble at the same time. You don't want to be getting totally lost out the shuffle come WrestleMania season. You don't.
It almost feels like, and it sounds really crazy. I mean, I didn't notice he didn't come out because I think it says something about this might be the first Rumble where I was thinking of the singles wrestlers who aren't in there. I mean, admittedly, I only realized Shinsuke Nakamura was apparently in this Rumble. I'm not quite sure I believe it because I have no recollection of that man appearing in
the
there.
United States champion, JP, though.
But you're talking about people like, I don't know, let's say a Pete Dunne, for example. And in previous years, how many tag teams would have been into the mix, which then gets around to your point about the 2-day Rumbles. They've got enough of a roster to do it where you don't dilute a Rumble. You can have a couple of tag team matches. I think for the women, it's a bit more difficult because it's so NXT heavy and reliant on that. And admittedly, less on overall, like, kind of legends. That's a better way to go. But they could actually do it. And the problem is they're not going to be able to do it for 2 years because they've got Saudi next year where they're not going to do a 2-day Rumble there. So you're talking 2027. And it's just like, it misses the opportunity because you think of what is the Rumble's going to be firmly the number 2. But anyway, this is all a big aside from it. The idea of Solo Sikoa in there is really weird. And it was after the fact. It was only when I saw people commenting, I was like, oh, shit, he wasn't, was he?
Yeah.
I was like, And he didn't.
I know.
Yeah.
Bet you fucking loving it.
I noticed in Roman's quote about what you can do with this bloodline story for the next 2 years. Then he went down the list and he was like, and he finished the Tamatonga. Tangaloa didn't even get a reference. I think Solo got included in that, but yeah, that's about where that lad lands. Any other thoughts, actually, Matty, on the Roman Punk Rollins stuff or any? I suppose or the highlights.
That was a great segment of the match. I thought it was great the way they done it, where you had was it Logan eliminate both, wasn't it, at the same time?
Yeah.
And then they both looked
kind of said on SmackDown, didn't they, about Logan, so it kind of
but they were both looking at each other on the floor, weren't they, Roman and Punk, like, what are you, sorry, was it Punk through Roman? I can't even remember. I'm still yeeting, that's what it was in my notes there, but they were looking at each other on the floor, weren't they, because Seth had already been throughout. I love that, love the curb stomp on the floor, as I said before, one of the stiffest. I was like, fucking hell when that happened, because the one on the steps looked like child's play compared to that one, JP. That was just fucking brutal. Looked it. And then I like the way Seth was storming up there, but it makes me think, why would you do that angle and set it up in a way?
I think it's an elimination chamber. I think they're trying to give that juice. I don't.
But Ben, even if it's kayfabe injury to Roman Reigns in the show, how are you gonna him and Seth? I'm leaning towards they're gonna do him Seth, and then I was gonna get this favour. I don't know what they're doing. Like, yeah,
there's no money in Roman versus Seth at this point. It's like,
no, I'll say no. Listen, right? I'm not. No. Listen, I'm just shocked. In 13 years since you've been on the roster, and all this lore, all this story, whether you want to spin it each way, what you want, they've only had that match twice on pay-per-view. Like, that blows my mind. Whether you'd agree with it be great or not, that's never been happened at even at WrestleMania before. It blows my mind. It hasn't happened, Benno. So they're obviously going to do it one time. But is it going to be this year? I don't know. I mean, it's a freeway up to me, and that's worse than any. I'd rather have any version of the singles match than a freeway. Definitely.
You dilute with three ways. I mean, the spot itself, I was kind of fine with, and then it was the realization of this is probably going to be a 3-way, and I immediately thought, I just don't like them. They don't carry the same amount of stakes. Mania should be like, it's a culmination and a building to something else, and it's the one-on-one that gets the reaction. Yeah, it's not the three of them there. And I just had the flashbacks of when Rollins got involved in, because Punk and Roman is an interesting storyline with Paul Heyman in the middle. Yeah, you get that other twat dressed up like he's fucking Elmo when he walks into the arena, turning up like, and the fashion choices are just like, they're not just. It's gone just beyond wacky. It's just into twat mode. Like, it's just like the bloke, you just move to Hoxton and I'm fucking done with it. Like, or Dulwich. Like, just stay there. You don't need to ever see him again.
He gets shoehorned in every year as well. That's what it is.
He is getting shoehorned in.
He does, yeah.
And if you're going to shoe him in, it's like, all right, have him against Logan Paul. Like, if you're going to do stuff, which I think they've done already.
That's happened 2 years ago, JV.
Tells you how quickly, how long a lot of these things last in the memory. There is other stuff you can do with Seth Rollins. I just don't like. Punk Roman is the money match, and if you're going to be building a card with depth, because you've got other stuff like Jey Uso and Gunter on top. That's the one you go with. You have that in the middle of the card. It will get a big reaction. The crowd will still be alive. Seth Rollins can fuck off and do something on day 2.
But here's one for you. You'd take Roman Seth if it was Cody and Punk, though, wouldn't you? And Cena goes in with like a Logan Paul. No. That's better now, wouldn't you not take that?
No, it's not. No, it's not a big enough match for Roman. Roman Jacob would be the match if you're doing that. If you're taking those guys out of it, that's the only match for Roman. It's not Roman solo either. Roman
I'm laughing now,
will be the choice there. But I still think it's going. I still think the singles is happening. I think it's set up for the Elimination Chamber. But we'll see in the weeks to come. They're still threatening that Jey Uso's going to go to SmackDown and speak to Cody Rhodes. Yeah, no, he's fucking not, is he though? Like, it's just to get people to watch SmackDown. Yeah. Your favorite show of the week, Matty. Something might happen this week. Who knows? Fingers crossed.
I was going to say consequential this week, innit, Benno?
Mate, should we all be watching NXT to see if Charlotte decides to take on Julia?
WrestleMania match.
Well, speaking of Charlotte Flair, we kind of touched on the Women's Rumble a bit there. I don't think we need to go quite as long on that. Strong thoughts on that. The predictable finish happened. She got predictable.
The only winner.
Did Lottie. It was more of the. It didn't really live up. We were saying on weekend show, Matty, that this might be the surprise of of the weekend, considering it had been built very well. Maybe it'd be the better one. It wasn't. The surprises. Jordan Grace looked great. Alexa Bliss got one of the loudest pops.
Wow! Wow!
Trish and Nikki were good moments.
Trish looked good. Like Trish was. Yeah, even Nikki Bella, like that was. We kind of predicted Nikki Bella as well would turn up at some point. Whether it's a long run. Yeah. Don't want her in coming back full time though. Want her in special moments maybe, but who knows?
Jordan looked good though. She looked ready for the WBC.
She did
immediately.
She will be. She's right on there. Yeah, definitely.
But it felt like they were hinting at NXT stuff with Julia, which I don't see the point of that, because I think she's just got such a unique look, can work big matches. As we've seen, she's ready for that elevation to the women's roster. And if you look at this Rumble match, if you want to go into kind of depth of the roster, the men's roster does have depth. The women's roster really doesn't. If you're padding it out with Slash Legend, because she's pure piss break, that girl, and Maxine Dupree and B-Fab, who in the little graphic says in a tag team with Me Chin, and I thought that's damning with faint praise, isn't it? That's saying we've got nothing to say about her, and you're filling it up with that. It's just like
guns to my head. When Roxanne Perez came out, or when Jada Parker came out, I couldn't have given you that. But that's why I'm a big fan of the graphics. I needed the graphics. I just didn't know who it was. I have no idea.
It surprised me, Roxanne, Ben. I might give you Jada Parker, but Roxanne Perez, like, I'm shocked at that one. But yeah,
B-Fab, definitely.
Or B-Fab, like, people didn't recognize her, they didn't recognize the music. Even when a name came up, I think there were still people going, B-Fab, though, who's that? And it's like, yeah, she was in that stable, remember, with Swerve ages ago, and she's the one that's left. She was the anti-pop. Yeah, that was really bad. That was the anti-Alexa Bliss, who, again, got just a jaw-dropping pop there, which was a good, it was well done, that, because obviously the stories had come out all day, hadn't they, that she was not re-signed and that they were far apart contract-wise. Clearly, WWE had planted that story somewhere, I think.
The only thing I'm shocked with is that she come out with the doll. Like, they're going back to that gimmick, like what she let. I was shocked at that one, like, JP.
It feels kind of lazy, really, going straight to that.
But
does she need to come out with the doll? Not really.
Can you shoehorn it into the Wyatts, though, JP? You can shoehorn it into that stable.
Well, I won't watch it either way, then.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, that's the thing. I will liberally skip through anything that involves it, because I've got no interest, to the point where none of the Wyatts appeared in the Rumble. There's your story there. That's how high up in the food chain they are. They're not even remotely part of any of that stuff. It was just that I think as soon as Becky Lynch did not come out as number 30, well, it's like, well, that's any idea of who's winning this was just over. I didn't think it was a big Final Four. Like I say, I just think this absolutely dragged for long periods, where it just became
It was a rotten Rumble. It wasn't
good at all. It really wasn't
at all. And it was kind of snake bitten as well. You had I thought there was two wardrobe malfunctions. The most obvious one was Lyra Valkyria, which, fair play to Liv Morgan, just kicking her in the corner so they could then do a cutaway and then she can sort out her top. And then there was Charlotte Flair, who took even longer to get to the ring because she couldn't take off whatever that gear that she was wearing, like, on there as well. Like, and God, she's got, like, she very much hold my beer when it comes to, like, Seth Rollins' fucking fashion choices with her. They just, I don't know. Do people wear those things outside of fashion shows? I don't. It's lost on me. But
got to say as well, the Raw follow-up with Charlotte. Matty was fucking just.
She should never be a face, though, ever.
Why is Rhea out there trying to, like, coach her into doing the match? It was just everything felt backwards about it.
But she should never ever be a face. Like, honestly, I'm the biggest fan of her. I know. They keep thinking, like, she's just. Some people should never be a babyface in wrestling. She hasn't got the she's trying to play it too much when she is. I know that seems idiotic to say, but you can tell she's trying to play because she's just a natural heel. Some people are. Sasha Banks is the same. Sorry, Monet. She should never be a face. Whether the fans like her or not, she should never be. They come across too arrogant.
She never cut the promo. That would be my advice.
Yeah, but honestly, she'd never be a face. And they're going to go, as JP said, she's going to go to see if Julia's there. She's going to obviously go. Tiffany Stratton is the match at WrestleMania. That's stupid itself.
I actually think they're going to go with Rhea Ripley.
Really,
I think they're going to.
No.
Maybe
it's
just me.
It's his default match. Triple H, he loves that. Don't get me wrong, but
doesn't like it.
Yeah,
I
can't see it.
It's a rubber match. He'll view it as the two biggest active stars in there as well. It'll get the prominent day 2 middle of the card spot because it won't be headlining either of them. And it's got a track record of being good.
Yeah, they are
there
good.
Is that behind it as well.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily a slight on the others, but yeah, it's slim pickings beyond that. But she's awful, and it's just like they're wondering, well, why is she a heel? And it's like, well, because every promo she ever cuts, she talks about how fucking great she is. People in the main don't tend to sympathise with people like that. Although I say that, the President of the United States does that stuff all of the time, and they voted him in.
Get over in UFC.
So,
that fan base said,
but lads, sorry, even in the Tiffany Stratton feud, she's going to get booed. The fans are going to be behind Tiffany Stratton, so they've got to call an audible, and they've got to just turn a heel straight away. They've got to do it because we don't live in that era no more. Like they should pivot. They've got to. It's going to happen.
I was more furious than anything that Julie didn't make the final 4 because I got her about 16-1 on a £5 free bet on Ladbrokes. I would have been quids in. Final 6, gutted. Only got a bit of money back on Bron Breakker tying for most eliminations, so it wasn't a great betting weekend, unfortunately. But unless there's more on that, the other matches on the show, there isn't much to say. Is that I don't think
the ladder match was good, Ben. I think the tag match
we'll get there.
Yeah,
tag match there's nothing to say. Is 2 out of 3 falls. I still don't the commentary explained it to me, Matty, but I still don't really understand what happened. All I really know has happened is they had, for whatever reason, we did the 2 out of 3 falls match just to give people more time to go to the fucking toilet, more time to go to. This was, to borrow a quote from you, Matty, there were definitely people ordering $20 in the crowd during this one. I felt bad for them with City Machine Guns. DIY, I don't know why he keeps trying with. And the whole post-match stuff with the Street Profits. Like I say, Michael Cole explained it. I still don't understand it, though, that they helped DIY win and then attack with the machine guns. I know it's just confusing and weird and badly staged on top of a really boring match.
That's what we went back and forth. Well, mainly me just going forth on the weekend show about SmackDown. But I said on that, DIY, like, honest to God, they don't get reactions on SmackDown in a day and age, JP, like you said, where most people are getting reactions, but they're getting silent and they've been pushed and they've turned heel. They're just not getting reactions at all. And to put them out there, as you say,
they are Triple H's shit sons. They are the Parker's son equivalent from MLW.
They are, mate.
Yeah.
Like, I don't
the
get
little
it.
mini-me's as well with the jacket and the beards and stuff like that.
Ciampa looks like a mini Triple H. R-Truth gimmick is calling that, and he's right. And by the way, JP, I'm glad R-Truth didn't turn up in this Rumble, by the way, as a comedy. At least he didn't turn up. But back to DIY. As we said on Weekend Show, and the chat pointed out, it's like 6 years past the prime when they got back together as a heel team. DIY and NXT. Yeah. Honestly, why? Like, why? I feel bad for the Guns. They had all this steam when they come in, won the title off the Bloodline in a great show long match angle, and they've been lumbered with these. And on paper, it's dare I say it, Tony Khan-esque, where it's like this match looks great on paper 7 years ago. It shouldn't be on a pay-per-view. It shouldn't be for 2 out of 3 falls as well. And as you say, Street Profits, if they just would have turned heel, sound. But it's when they laid the champs out at the end as well, like, we want to take the belts. No, it was Muddle and Ben, I will give you that. And I love Street Profits. I think they should be in this tag mix more than fucking DIY.
I was even wondering where were New Day in all of this. There's nominally your big name tag team. And
WrestleMania, I think they're getting safe for, JP.
So what, them versus Viking Raiders? Who are champion, great. Yeah, that's fucking buzzing, isn't it? I was just bored. I was bored watching this match. They came out and it was just they're in a stadium with 70,000 people, but I didn't hear any fucking reactions to this, and I didn't have any. And it was unsurprisingly, having stayed awake through the Women's Rumble, having eaten leftover Chinese, worked my way into going, all right, get ready for bed. Not a good idea to perhaps eat a load of Chinese food and then go to bed. Put this match on. I was asleep in 5 minutes. I just went, yeah, this is. And there's that point where your eyes are closing, and you went, yeah, this is the one that do me in. Predicted it at the start.
Should have thrown that on the Master of the Week. We had a honey chili chicken with half Korean chips and half, I think it was sweet and sour sauce and chips, Matty. It was brilliant.
That sounds nice, that one, Ben.
Yeah. It did make me sleepy as well. Just like that match did. But we got to say, Matty, praise where it's due. The ladder match. Cody and Kevin Owens feels like it was 6 million years ago now that we've moved on Raw with the Sami Zayn stuff and all the drama did at the end of it. But fuck me, did Kevin Owens put a performance in this match? Like, he took some fun. And it was good as well because there was a bit of lore in there for us who just went through the Steen and Generico stuff on Raw as well. Seeing Sami Zayn take a package power driver again was kind of cool to see. But even in this, there was a few spots that he definitely repeated from their matches, like the what you call it, the
wheelbarrow suplex, the Alabama slam
at one point.
No, the Alabama slam. Cody does it. Well, obviously, you know what I mean. But...
but Jesus Christ, like the whip on that, Kevin Owens took a bump and then some. Like this felt heated, it felt hated. The bumps were hard. Like it was a very good WWE ladder match. Bit of blood as well. Like all thumbs up for me, this one.
And this was the best presentation of Cody in a while. It made him look like an ass kicker. It made him look like definitive of what he said he was going to deliver to Kevin Owens. Selfless as always, Kevin Owens, in this type of stuff, isn't he? He's one of the most selfless wrestlers of all time. And he'll always take a good bump and always not letting up. And as he's getting older as well, he's always took this type of punishment. The Alabama slam, fucking hell. But even the, what was it, the wheelbarrow, like half suplex he does off the second rope where he's meant to... Cody's meant to take the brunt of it. His fucking head on that ladder. Fucking hell. Some of the stuff. But I just say, even the blood, it wasn't over the top, was it? It looked gritty, it looked real. Really, really good ladder match, this one here, lads.
I thought this, I may not be as high. If I'm giving this a rating, I'm probably going 4 stars. I thought it was very good for a WWE ladder match. And it probably doesn't help that we watch like bloody Ladder War and stuff like that from the Steen Generico stuff. In some ways, I was like under the preconception of like Steen is going to kill himself here, but the job it had to do. Like I thought this was like, and again, 25 minutes. Like you could argue ever so slightly, but on a show of this length with only 4 matches, that this was, it could have lost maybe a few minutes. Might be slightly nitpicking, but Owens kind of kills himself, and that's what he does, and he is someone like, I mean, and that's another thing we've got to think about is where do you position him and Sami Zayn on the card? Because that is a match that you would like to think should be given it should be opening the show. This is something
middle of the card, like your 25 minute match. That
proper time, effort, and you tie in story into the mix. And in many ways, I think they're just going to go out and go, remember that great match you had in Ring of Honor? Yeah, just replicate that, except you're not going to wear a mask.
But they're still able, though. They're still wrestlers. Like, we rip for Finn Balor and AJ Styles. I know they're slightly younger than them guys, but you've still got faith in them to go out and deliver a big match like that. You know, it's not going to be, like, it might be the full speed, like we always say, but it'll still be fucking just as good, though, lads. Like, that will still be tied in with all the story, the lore, the emotion. That will be very, very good.
Yeah. Perfect match for the Mania weekend. And you can't convince me it happened before. Apparently it did.
It did, Benno. 2021, mate.
Not buying it.
2006, though.
It did take place, and we'll be talking about it this weekend on GRAPPL Patreon. Look forward to that. Anything else on the Rumble itself overall before we get some of the news coming out of it?
No, that's it. Just
Stephanie McMahon turned up.
Oh, my God.
Why did they do that? Like, it was just unnecessary.
I felt very justified in my pick as most hated non-wrestling figure in wrestling. What did she do? She came out. She did Triple H, is what she did. She came out. She pointed the camera, panned around, said nothing of any real interest. It's like, did we need to have her do this? She doesn't even have a role in the company. She's just there. Apparently for shits and fucking giggles, and the only enjoyment anyone can have is looking at her hands and seeing if they can spot a wedding ring. That appears to be the only sort of aspect of that looking at. I dislike that stuff so much because it's just like, oh, I have to get myself out there. No, you don't actually. You shouldn't have any part of this fucking company whatsoever, but there we go.
Attendance-wise, we've had mixed reports on the attendance for this one. Triple H was bragging on the post show that it had done 70,000, while a graphic was in front of him that said 65,000. We don't know the exact number, but it's in that ballpark. It was a genuinely impressive number. Obviously, I believe them when they call it the record, like single day gate for non-WrestleMania, because ticket prices right now are absolutely insane. Whatever the truth is, 65 or 70, crazy number in it for a Rumble.
Oh, insane. Like, I couldn't believe it said on the weekend show, JP. Like, I was expecting 50 odd, but when it passed that 60 mark, getting up to 65, I was like, fair fucking play.
I think this is the most, like, I'm not surprised by the kind of number, partly because I think the McAfee effect, which they bigged up loads of times on the commentary, it plays a part. Like, I don't think that's to be kind of understated that Pat McAfee is a big star. As annoying, like, you wouldn't want to actually hang around with him at all, because you'd just be like, mate, you're doing my fucking head in. Can you just get a pint and come back over and talk like a normal human being? But that kind of, it also tells you really that I think they are, going to the Saudi for doing this. It's like, can you not just bring an elimination chamber in it? What difference will it fucking make? They'll enjoy it either way. But the Rumble should be 2 nights. That way, you can properly plan for both the men's and the women's Rumble. And if they did it in the stadium again, Saturday and Sunday, I think they'd do 50,000 both nights. I think if they would easily clear 50,000 both nights, because it's event TV. Like, that's the thing to think about what Rumble is. And I think the overall, and I don't know if you guys have had casual fans mentioning it to you, people who aren't really fans, but I've had lots of people saying to me, oh, we watched the Royal Rumble. It was a really good laugh. And I'm just there going, I'm just going to resist the urge to say anything whatsoever, other than Vicky's comment actually about Cody Rhodes, which seems a bit flies in the face of the praise we gave the match. We just went, he is the most bang average wrestler ever. I've seen better wrestlers at Rev Pro. That was what she said.
Good one, JP.
She just went, I don't get it. I don't get it at all. And I went, yeah, there's a limit, but like, he's good on promos. And she went, right. And that just like, I just felt like I lost her then at that point as soon as I said that.
Outside, like, yeah, I think we kind of covered the other news that come out of it. Obviously, yeah, John Cena declared himself for the men's elimination chamber. Apparently, that's best for business. Wonder where he heard that quote before. Who knows? But yeah, that's obviously been set up, and yeah, the Drew McIntyre story, which I do think is a shoot. They could turn it into a work, but yeah, who knows with that.
Everything's a work in this business, Ben.
As far as before we get into some other WWE news and notes and some important ones, I'll let you run us through if you can, JP. But quickly, Raw was actually very good last night. I would say, Matty, stayed up live.
I haven't seen Punk and Sami yet. Didn't have time, but apparently that was that as good as people are saying.
It was good. It wasn't great. It was 3.5-star Raw match. They tried to work in like some like work shoot kind of like story moments and stuff like that. No one really picked up on. As I think Bix put on Twitter or Blue Sky there this weekend. But yeah, it was a good match. It was good, and it was just fun to see Punk doing a Raw match in there with Sami Zayn as well. Which, you know, obviously with their history and such, it was quite a unique sight to see. The Jey Uso stuff was massively over. The Charlotte stuff was entertaining just from a just perverse point of view. Don't know if you had any of the highlights from the post-Rumble Raw, Matt.
That's it, Ben. Did what I've seen, like Jey Uso, that is like, was so happy to see, like, this is going to be, as you say, the train going all the way to WrestleMania. Because even, not a negative, but even me, they can capitalize and use this every week because of the tournament. That even if it was just in America, they do that. But I still want a bit of needle. I don't want the same promo every week for like 8 weeks. It's going to be, isn't it? We need something as well. Maybe a couple of good angles in there, a couple of layouts or whatever. But we'll see what happens with that. But obviously, you know, I'm fully behind that. But yeah, Charlotte once again should never be a face. They're going to have to pivot that straight away. And yeah, we'll catch up on the Punk and Zayn because I've seen the Kevin Owens attack afterwards. So we're well on that train to WrestleMania as well. So all looking good. We just need to see what's going to happen at Chamber, if this Roman injuries are work or what. I don't know. We'll see. We'll know more. We'll know more at the Chamber. Yeah.
I agree with Chris, by the way. Yeah, like Netflix for the last hour Raw was just like blinking black.
Yeah, my mates both told me about. They said it was terrible. What, did they clean it up on the replay?
I thought that was my fucking Wi-Fi. No, I was ready to fucking kick off at See the Light about this. I was like, for fuck's sakes, lads, he's shit in the bed again. No, it was awful. It was unwatchable at points. Yeah.
I heard about that, like, but
it really was. And there's been a few of those production gaps. I feel like the UFC TKO production team, just like there's loads of points where Michael Cole's talking and then he gets muted. Or there was that point where at the Rumble, wasn't it, where who was it backstage? Tessatori and someone else who were like
Barrett's winning.
Yeah, they were like doing like the little man in a cardboard box, Rob Brydon skit. It felt like during the while they were on screen. It was fucked up. It was just we didn't get those types of productions
at all. No.
Well, that's fine. Bit indie, but sloppy shop, I would say, Matty. You need to sort it out.
Yeah, need to start selling more tickets. Not quite selling out as Gareth and Tape Trouble in Paradise.
I think they will shift a few more tickets for Elimination Chamber. That
Yeah,
much.
they
I think
will.
you'll see a big uptick in sales for that. I think that could end up closer to 35. Dare I say it, 40,000? Because I think there'll be a big push once they start announcing people proper for it.
Definitely. Well, on that note, some more serious news stories that have been circling around this week, JP. Couple of big ones, though.
And I think that the biggest one, and again, completely horrific, and lest we ever forget about this, but Janel Grant has expanded her lawsuit against Vince McMahon, WWE. New details. This is Post Wrestling's reporting on this as well. The amended complaint that I put in there, and it's even fucking worse. It's basically he instructed her to make pornography, which he would distribute, and for Michael Hayes and his crew. So multiple people in there as well.
Yeah, there's new names in there, so that's the big takeaway. That obviously Michael Hayes is named, Triple H is now named, Nick Khan is now named, like the anonymous executives that we had in the initial version of the suit. Brock Lesnar, his name appears. I don't know whether they had any consideration of putting him in at the Rumble, as well as obviously, the stuff about the clinic that she went to that Vince had sent her to. That is obviously named now in the suit as well. It's just it's an expanded version of the initial complaint, but with some more stories, with some more Vince McMahon texts in there as well, and more, like I say, more names in there. The fact that, again, a Vince McMahon lifer like Michael Hayes being mentioned probably isn't a huge surprise, but it just shows you that, the strength and scale of this stuff, that, Vince was having her send images so that he could send them on to Michael Hayes, that he was having arranging for her to go and meet up with Brock Lesnar, that he was, out in the open, doing this stuff. And, the allegation that, and now we know it for certain, that the abuse that happened at the hands of Vince McMahon and John Laurinaitis was happening in the office that we believe was next door to the office of Triple H Levesque. Would have loved somebody to ask him a question about that in the post-show presser coming out of the Rumble.
Well, you're never going to get those, and then they get stroppy with you if anyone even mentions to them. It's just like, but you're meant to be journalists, and it's just not mentioned at all. I think the plausible deniability thing sounds weaker and weaker by the fucking day compared to for all of this stuff. Really disgusting. And I mean, it's not a surprise. None of it's a surprise, given the first leak of text and when the initial allegations came out. I don't think this is the end of it. I think there's more of this stuff as well that they're going to find, and particularly if they get to a discovery phase where they are going to be sort of leaking more and more of this stuff. If nothing else, I think when a story like this comes out and we start to think Vince is going to come back into the WWE fold, or if anyone ever thinks that, this is the stuff that directly prevents that being the case. Like it is. And Michael Hayes is still with the company. And I think that's going to be coming to an end soon for this, because again, he knew directly Brock Lesnar, who again was really heavily predicted that there was from a lot of people that he was going to possibly make an appearance here, that they thought that everything had changed and he could come back into the fold. No, because if he's going to be involved in this kind of, not while his name's here. I can't go anywhere near him.
The shoe we're waiting to drop is obviously, this has gone to the judge who will rule on whether this amended complaint will be allowed, and if it can formally become part of the case. After that, then both sides are going to resubmit their motions, and then there will be a matter of whether the case goes to arbitration behind closed doors, or it's a public case, public day in court, which is what the Janel Grant side want, and WWE and the Vince McMahon side are very much want to push for arbitration, which apparently is a clause of the NDA that Janel Grant side that Janel Grant allegedly signed. The other note in here as well is that even after the NDA is signed, there's another allegation of Vince McMahon forcing her into sex acts as well. That might have an implication on whether the NDA stands up in court, and whether the wording of the NDA will force them to do arbitration privately, or whether it can be thrown out and this can be all heard publicly. Let's hope it all gets heard publicly, because Janel Grant absolutely deserves her day in court.
Oh, it absolutely has to. And I think even from a PR perspective, just the just these texts being put there out there into the open. Just again, really like kind of making it completely, absolutely certain, in case you weren't before, what are the stories that are coming out about them. It's absolutely disgraceful. And it leads into another very serious story that's come out, which is the Maryland Supreme Court upholds the Child Victims Act. Why is this important? Well, this is the Child Victims Act of 2023, was seen as being constitutional, and it was basically about eliminating the time limits for people who are filing lawsuits regarding child sexual abuse. And this is really in relation to the Ring Boy scandal as well, because there was the civil suit that was filed in Baltimore, which is in the state of Maryland, by 5 anonymous ex-Ring Boys. So then it kind of means, but because this is in case, and I know that the lawyer spoke to Brandon Thurston about this as well, that this is also another case that can hopefully be heard in a, heard in a court, and that these guys are going to also have their story being heard at the same time. I mean, it's the kind of story as well where they try and avoid this stuff like the absolute plague.
Yeah, they'll have been hoping that got thrown out, but the case, the legal case will continue, and it's not just going to go away and be easily written off as it was years ago. But that has been ruled as constitutional, which is definitely good news. And it comes at a time as well where, like the last story we've got here, JP, that I know Brandon Thurston's been hot on, like Nick Khan's name involved again. Fox Sports, another Fox Sports executive, being accused of sexual battery. Guess what? It's another ex Nick Khan client. Just like Lee Fitting, just like some other names that have come out recently, kind of speaks to the culture that Nick Khan has been involved in a lot.
And that's the thing, even with the Lee Fitting story when it came out, his name's all over the show as executive producer. That's not going anywhere. That is absolutely there. And you can tell his hands are all over the production of the show, just given the obvious changes that have taken place. But yeah, another Nick Khan client. No levels of plausible deniability. These are things they have to keep an eye on, because obviously, given the entity they are and given the fact that they're publicly traded and all of the other aspects of this, they can't brush this under the carpet. I suspect what they'll do
Charlie
in the case.
in this case. Yeah,
it is. Yeah, I think like when it comes to the Ring Boys story, that's something they're going to try and settle out of court. You can see WWE probably go into crisis mode to do that. Nick Khan will do plausible deniability, but for a man who's so Teflon, a couple of people being kind of linked to him as well. And what don't agents know about their clients? They know fucking everything. The amount of fixing and fixing of various things they have to do for clients themselves. Again, it's like Triple H with The Office being next door. You kind of just you can't pretend you don't know anything. You just didn't want to think about it and didn't want to know.
Absolutely. On that note, that's kind of the very serious WWE news that's out there. Like I say, three-pronged thing there. these stories are not going to go away. As much as it is unfortunate that they're not necessarily pressed on these matters or even just asked basic questions like, Paul Levesque, Triple H, have you read the amended complaint at all that mentions you by name? No. Instead, we get asked about how great the Royal Rumble was. But on that note, there are other non-serious, I would say, WWE stories as well. We did get an advert during the Rumble for WWE Evolve be announced, and we joked about what would happen when because WWE apparently to this point, and we are almost 24 hours later, not in the top 10 on Netflix as far as this week goes. I'm sure it will. Maybe there's just a delay. Maybe it'll get there. Maybe by the time people hear this, they'll be in the list. Maybe they won't have to go to Tubi. But what is going to Tubi is WWE Evolve. Gabe Sapolsky will be printing those checks. As there was an advert on it. It just looked like pandemic wrestling to me. Like on the pay-per-view, it was just like, oh, this is wrestling in an empty arena. Comes obviously at a time. What are they calling the new NXT, Matty, or the new
not ID, is it?
No, the new
LFG.
What is it? LFG
as well.
Yeah, that's on
there's
A&E
going on. There's LFG and there's WWE Evolve.
What is it all?
low level you know, young trainees going out there to get some reps. And guess what? It's going to air Wednesdays at 8 p.m. I don't know what else is on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. anywhere, but I don't know. I can't imagine Tubi is going to have much of an impact.
I was going to say, I mean, if that's beating Dynamite, then you need to jack it in, but in no danger.
Because Tubi got Big Bang Theory, that's what we need to know.
Well, I could be wrong about this because I've got an LG TV up in our room, and Tubi's always advertised on there. There's all these free stuff that's on this. It appears to be one of these kind of free apps. I don't know if Tubi was going to be the home for MLW, and that was the thing that a lot of that lawsuit came about, and the monopoly practice, and they were keeping MLW off Tubi because it has some kind of distribution on there. I think it'll be relatively cheap. If it draws anyone away from Dynamite, they'll look at that as a win. I don't expect it. I don't even expect us to hear numbers about it. And I think Tubi will just be ecstatic. They've got some WWE content at a time that is hot. But I was looking at it, and I was just like, I don't know who any of these fucking people are on there. No idea. I don't know if I might watch. Knowing me, I'll watch 10 minutes of an episode, go, not for me, switch it off, and never watch any of it ever again.
I want to just mention Big Bang Theory quickly, Ben, because I think it was on the weekend show where we were saying it is on Netflix. I think someone in the chat was here, or we were arguing. It wasn't me and you arguing.
I feel like I've seen it, yeah.
No, it is. It is all 12 seasons are on there.
There.
I've just double checked. Yeah, it is.
Okay. There you go, the important stuff. Maybe that'll help. Does that make the top 10? We need to find out.
It probably will, won't it?
Top 10 on Netflix. Once a monitor, though, you would think this soon. And the weekend show, Matty, going into WrestleMania season. You know, maybe there's a delay. And it'll land on there. But interesting. And for the best, probably the best Raw they've had so far. It wasn't amazing, but it was solid. It was more than solid. It was a good little show this week. Speaking of which, SmackDown, your favourite show, Matty, apparently topped the night for a Mongol programming on
Not surprised,
Friday. Good news, 1.578 million viewers and a 0.51 in 1849. Beats everything else on telly.
That's what you get with the Jacob Fatu main event, Benno. Jacob Fatu in the main event, that's what we get.
We'll give him that credit, Not the increase
3 hours, mate.
You know what? I've said it. Whether we had this weekend show. What's that?
On each other. Punk and Cody was like Punk and Kevin Owens. I mean, that was it was like the PG version of like Punk and Hangman Page, but just like, you know, the way like when wrestlers genuinely hate each other and sometimes it boils over and you get really entertaining television. This boiled over to the point where they both couldn't look each other in the eye. They both looked like they couldn't get off the material they really wanted to say about each other, and they just had a really generic back and forth promo and talked about their WrestleMania records and left. Like, it was awkward, but not in a good way. It felt hate-filled, but not in a good way. It just looked like two people in your office who don't really want to work together being forced to work together.
That was it, Ben. As you say, usually the dynamic's way different when people don't get along. Like you said, you get a bit edgy, a bit like on the nose. This was just nothing.
Owens couldn't look Punk in the eye.
He couldn't. He was just like disinterested. Like, he just genuinely didn't want to be in the segment for me. He just couldn't be asked. Punk was trying. To be fair, he was, and was KO just like weren't asked. That's all. And it was very awkward, as you say.
That's it. Well, there you go. That's the WWE news. We've got a little bit of AEW to talk about, but not a lot. Are you sticking around for it, Matty, or are you gone?
That depends. Am I needed to talk AEW?
Do you want the good news story for you that's just broken?
What is it? What is it, JP?
Oh, it's not a matter. It's a ratings story. I mean, would you be surprised that Collision did its? I think it was its lowest ever rating this week. I think it was 197,000 up against the Rumble, which actually seems quite strong considering he's up against the fucking Rumble on Netflix.
At least it proves that people are real. I fucking hate these. It's not Ian Hamilton's fault. He just reports the numbers. But fucking hell, the victory lap Tony Khan's taken over the ITV AEW numbers. Yeah. It's on a different slot every week. There's no correlation between what happens on the show and that number being better. It just is whatever it is. Whoever's asleep in front of the telly at that given moment changes everything. There's no rhyme or reason to it. There's no that match was booked, or that star was on, or this is going well, or there's been a pattern of it rising over a couple of weeks. It's just whatever the fucking number is at that particular time on ITV 37. Like, what it means nothing. At least this shows like clearly there's a Collision audience, and that Collision audience were obviously, because it's outside of WrestleMania, the biggest fucking show of the year. They were tuning into the Royal Rumble, as it does seem most people, even in our bubble, were doing this weekend.
honestly to God, like it's fucking, it's absolutely bloody like mental when he talks about this stuff. We talk about Big Bang Theory leading, it's the Minder leading, and it's what episode of Minders / The Professionals is on beforehand on ITV4 that's leading into this. If they're lucky, it's live darts. Like that's on a
like
good week.
Here, the darts or the snooker's on, like,
Yeah.
and that's on a couple of hours before. It'll do better. It got not. I can't tell the Americans enough. It has got nothing to do with the quality of the show. It's a great advert. It's great that it's out there, and like, you know, you could turn the
It looks good on paper though, Ben. It does.
And AW's on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The exposure of it just by osmosis is great. It's not a real thing that people organize lives around. That people don't go, oh, it's on a 11:05 this week on a Sunday. I'm going to watch that. Like, they just don't. Like, it's not a thing.
No.
But anyway, sorry, been on me so bad. You might as well stay, Matty, because we're not saying anything good.
On Collision itself, I did see the 3 promos that mattered from Collision, like Ricochet and Swerve Strickland. Thought that was great.
I love that.
Like, Ricochet, that was really, really good. Like, it was really good. Like
Ricochet saying that, like, you know, yeah, I was faking it the whole time. Oh yeah, I might have looked like I was being a try-hard babyface, but actually I didn't really care. And here's why. Brilliant retconning. Made him feel like, I was dressing like a superhero, like a knobhead, wasn't I? Yeah, it didn't really work, but now I'm who I really am. That was really well put together. I enjoyed that. I agree.
It was very well done, and it makes, like, that's not even on a pay per view, is it? That's not even on Grand Slam, is it? That's just on next week, is
Dynamite.
Dynamite, yeah. That's like given that's so they built that up, match up really, really well. But then even, I mean, the Cope one I had to laugh at. I mean, I don't know whether I was laughing. He was trying his hardest, but it's just the end game to it.
Problem.
Who's interested though, Ben, in that match? Like, genuinely, like, your diehards of AEW are just shitting on it. It's this Death Rider stuff in general, isn't it, Ben? And I'll leave the floor to you. I don't need to say much about the Death Riders. I
think the biggest headline coming out of it, because obviously, you know, Collision was not that important to show this week, and if I almost felt bad for Tony Khan, like, trying to shout between the noise. Like, my Twitter feed was like just wall-to-wall Royal Rumble stuff, and it's like, thank you everyone for tuning into Collision. It's like, I suppose he's got to do that.
He sets them for the timer, doesn't he? Every weekend he's not there.
But like, yeah, I mean, the biggest headline for me is like, one, yeah, that Coke promo was terrible. Like, I'm screaming at the camera, trying to be all intense. Who's it for? It didn't work in WWE. Like, it's the worst of Cope, the worst of Edge. It's just the worst of AEW right now. But worst for me is that apparently that's the Revolution match. So we have got how many more weeks of Cope and Mox build? Like, it's not going away. That's the big takeaway for me. At least it was a Grand Slam. But all right, we'll move on then. We'll get someone a bit interesting, someone a bit young, someone a bit dynamic, someone who can take AEW in a different direction. You can take the belt off Mox. Nah, we're stuck with this for at least another month.
And it's been happening for like 4 to 8 weeks, hasn't it, already? So it's like almost like 3 or 4 months of this.
Cope and FTR, rated R Cope or whatever they're called. Awful.
Yeah.
If I was going to make a prediction as well when it comes to the buy rate and the amount of pay-per-view buys, think the people what they want when they buy an AEW pay-per-view. What's the comment we always say on these? Didn't like the TV and the build to the pay-per-view. The pay-per-view will probably be fucking great because it'll have loads of great matches. This is one of the times where you look at the main event, and they did it on the last show as well with that 4-way, where you're just going to be like, I don't give a shit. And it says so, like, because AEW's at stake, and who's the man who's going to rescue AEW? What, 50-year-old Adam fucking Copeland, who's known from being in WWE. It's just the optics of it are so bad for a company that wants to be the challenger brand. It's a WWE main event, but it's also a WWE main event that's like 15 years past its prime with a shit storyline thrown into the mix. I saw this. I'm not surprised by it, but fuck me, like, this needs to end. And I don't mean it needs to end with Cope winning the fucking title.
There's no chance he wins, is there? No?
No,
I wouldn't be that fucking
unless they're doing something mad with Christian. Unless like Cope wins, Christian, because he's been walking around with the fucking.
How bad's it though, Ben? Yeah,
the money in the bank. It's like your local indie, innit? You know, when your local indie does it, like does it. They have like a money in the bank, and it's like, it's a little bit low rent considering that's a WWE thing, but it works for them, and they make it work, and it's, you know, at that level, that's fine, you know, and a lot of indies do it. AEW should not be having their own equivalent version, but we've been on that soapbox. We're waiting for Darby to either can't cut Everest and survive or not survive, as SP3 put last week. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, there wasn't much else notable from Collision, I didn't think, outside of, you know, Tony's promo building up her and Mariah. Still don't really buy the explanation of the reveal, but maybe they can get there, which does lead us into this week's Dynamite. Does have Swerve versus Ricochet in the match, and I like building up a Dynamite match. I
Definitely.
like that. I like being like, this match is in 3 weeks. Tune in 3 weeks, and you're going to see it. And I think that might help the rating a little bit. Takashi and Fletcher versus Brody King and Buddy Matthews as we move towards the Grand Slam All-Star Tag. Tony Storm versus a woman who's not on TV enough, Queen Amanita. We have Will Ospreay versus a member of the Don Callis family. Don't know if you have any guesses on it. Who that will be? Is that
Be Cage?
Lance.
Sorry, Lance before Cage, didn't he? So of course it's Lance.
Pronounce it though. It's weird, isn't it?
I know.
But we're doing, as we talked about on Weekend Show, we're doing heat for the sake of heat. All everyone wants to do. Let's get to the All-Star Tag, but we've got to tell the story. So we're telling the story of Ospreay and Kenny getting beat down week on week until we get to the match. And yeah, that's it really. Yeah, it's from Atlanta this week, Atlanta, Georgia, the Gateway Center Arena. I'm guessing the attendance is 2,000. I haven't even looked, JP, but sounds about right.
Should I have a quick
let's
look
have a
now?
guess.
I'll be right.
No,
I'll
a
be
bit
right.
more than that. Bit more than
I'll be
that,
right.
Ben. I'll go about 3,000 odd.
Oh, mate, I'm going to go 1,500 for this.
Wow.
I'm just going to try because I haven't got it down on there. I'm just having a quick look now. Let's just have a look and see.
Some of the
what's up.
attendance is coming up on particularly encouraging. The question is whether it's going to be one of those like big arenas that they've set up for a very small amount of people, or whether it's an appropriately sized arena for a couple thousand people.
You were right. 2,052. In an arena on here that is, it looks, again, I don't know if it's half the configuration of it. I'd have to look at what the Gateway Center Arena is like, but it's only set up for 2,500. So it'll potentially look all right on TV. I just think this is the reality of where they're at when it comes to these figures. I mean, Dynasty ticket sales in Philadelphia are like 3,000 at the minute. I mean, it's not good, but at least if they're doing these lower numbers, for the most part, they're in venues which at least suit crowd that size.
Should be doing it, yeah.
That is important.
Of course.
Yeah, that's it.
Totally.
So yeah, apparently, you distributed 2,000 tickets. It's set up for 2,500. Looks more like the size AEW should be at this point. There we go. Well, yeah, looks like an okay Dynamite card, I'd say.
Does.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, like, I know Brody and Matthews are obviously getting sacrificed, aren't they? Because you've got to build Fletcher and Takeshi up for that match. So that'll be a good match. That'll be like a light version of what match you're going to get at the Grand Slam. That'll be like all action, balls to the wall. So, and Ricochet Swerve will be good as well. So that is 2 big matches there that I genuinely will watch. That will be good.
Wow. Bit of agreement there. Unbelievable. Anything else, lads? Like I say, news-wise, it's been pretty quiet for AEW. I think, obviously, with WWE taking over the weekend, not much has really come out, and not much else going on as we previewed last week. If you haven't checked it out, the weekend show still is available with me and Matty. We are putting it on the free feed every now and then. If you like the sounds of it, you can get it every week on the Patreon or the YouTube. But yeah, anything else just watch this week, lads? Or anything else to mention? Are you shocked, Matty, that we didn't have... I don't feel like we argued that much. I feel like we gave the people a little bit.
We did, though. I think it did come off for a couple of points, Ben, but we kind of sued it down.
I thought it went fine.
Yeah.
As someone who gets a front row seat for these things in here, I was trying to think, where does this rank in terms of the other kind of arguments you have? It's not the most sort of visceral argument you've had, but at the same time, it was very much like a row at the beginning. And
you didn't speak, JP, for at least 10, 12 minutes. It was Benno. It went up quite a bit. I enjoyed it.
It was fun to see. It really
always
was.
Fun to spar with you, mate.
Always,
where that came from. We did
Always.
on the weekend show as well. You'll come up with 3 negatives.
You did.
I will one day. That's me aim, Benno, and I swear you'll be the first one that I tell when I get free off one show. Just seriously, you're there, mate.
Anyway, yeah. Anything else, JP? Anything else you watched?
No.
Want to talk about?
That's the one thing I was trying to watch, and I only saw a little bit beforehand. It's very highly rated. I'm going to try and catch it in before the weekend show. Is Leon Slater versus Leon Cage from Rev Pro's 229 show, which is getting a lot of good
new developments,
good buzz.
have been set up and such.
Yep. And I think that's one of the things I want to kind of try and get back into. They've started them up again. They've had like almost like a little break over like kind of Christmas, and it feels like they're hitting their straps. I think they're in Southampton this weekend as well, so we're going to see a few more of these stories, and I think that's I'm going to try and keep an eye on them, because I did say for Leon Cage as being like someone to watch for the year, like always like to go for a real left field pick, and again, I've only watched like the first sort of like 5-10 minutes of it, and he looks very, very good for his age. I think the last time we saw a 17-year-old kind of like break on the scene, it was Callum Newman, and you know, look at him now. He's in New Japan, for God's sakes. Like, he's in a fucking G1, which sounds mental. So hopefully I'll have caught up with that by the time we reach the. And I want to see Zoe Lucas's return match as well, because she was loving Grapple Charlie at fucking Rev Pro. She was all over him for that. So yeah, I look forward to maybe catching a bit of that and get that in for the weekend show.
Definitely. Well, yeah, outside of that, obviously, Dealer's Choice is kicking off, starting with PWG's European Vacation from 2006. We'll be sharing the link to that the homework as well on the Discord. So, yeah, that'll be coming up. JP's pick, Gareth's pick, and Matty's pick as well throughout the month. Retro's out, Matty. That came out today. Yeah. That is up on the feeds. Is available going forwards on the Patreon. It's for YouTube members, but there's 3 levels to the Patreon you can join. Just click, give it your email address, and you can listen to Retro right away. So it's still available for free, but it's over on the air. Yeah. Living over on the Patreon feed now, and cracking a little show with you and Gareth. Listen to the first 5 minutes. He's just slagging me off, which is great. Hesitate publishing and promoting.
Would we ever mean it, Benno? It's always tongue in cheek, mate. There's never any malice behind it, my friend.
Edit it out next time. I think I might just edit yourself in. might just upload an episode of Benno and Hamlet in your house. But it is up there. It is legitimate file.
Thank you very much.
I left it artistic integrity, Matty. It's in its original form. But yeah, you talked a tale of Nash. What did you say?
Nash's. It was originally Nashville, but out of respect to you and Hamlet, did you hear? Gareth took it off the dock and he left me in charge, JP, to pick the hidden gem. And obviously, true to form.
No, that was his mistake.
Yeah, it was his mistake. I picked an Isaac Yankem steel cage match from Raw with old Brett with his working boots on. Exactly. But as the positive, honestly, lads, obviously Survivor Series 95, Bret Hart versus Diesel's regarded as an all-time Bret match, probably Diesel's best ever match. But Royal Rumble 95 was the one obviously before it. Dave give it 4.25 in old money, lads, as well. If anyone still goes off, Dave, I know he give that the highest rating out of any match Bret and Diesel had. And I always say the trilogy, obviously King of the Ring 94, but is it quadology, quadrilogy? There's always that cage match as well in Your House 6. So, but they always work well together, Diesel and Bret Hart. So it's always good to go back and revisit their matches.
Right. And synergy making a competition. We're over on Benno and Hamlet, just getting to Survivor Series 95, which is obviously the Diesel and Bret title change there as well. Spoilers for Benno and Hamlet in your house. We can
love it.
We're in conjunction, mate. If you're over there.
No, but there's no beef, Ben. It's all good. You're
Nashville's big enough for all of us.
Saginaw, Michigan. We can all meet up there, Benno.
We'll be out of the Bret years soon. We'll be very much into the Shawn years soon, and then we'll be into 97, 98, which will be a very different kettle.
Always a crack and listen, Ben. Of course, Hamlet and Benno in your house. I'll say not Benno with Hamlet.
I'm definitely but the other thing we should mention as well, Royal Rumble 2001. We've mentioned a couple of times tonight. We did flashback, Matty and LF Doom, Liam. Got him on Talking Wrestling. That was cracking. Listen, if you didn't like this year's Rumble, that's a Rumble for you. The IWC Rumble, did I rate it as such? I'll probably rate it higher than I think you and Gareth might. PWG's European Vacation this weekend, Matty. But I think you'll, I think most will agree with you and Liam on that one. But we had that a cracking chat.
Oh, always, Ben. And it was, as you say, it blew your mind when we originally put that poll out, wasn't it? About the best Royal Rumbles, and so many people go to 2001 after 92 or even in front. So it was good to revisit. Firmly in the Channel 4 years as well, Benno, the Heat years. Couple of legends, like a K-Quick, Heat legend, Lowdown, Heat legends. Just a great show. And always good to have Liam on, outside of... It was like an episode of Wrestling Time, wasn't it, Benno? It was kind of a conjunction as well. So it's always good to get Liam involved and on time. But JP, speaking of time, some of the stuff Liam's picked for 95 coming up, mate. Wow. Looking like a great show coming up in March.
Yeah. Mate, I'm fucking buzzing about that. That's going to be fucking awesome. Love doing a bit of time as well. Yeah. And just say to everyone as well, it's Dealer's Choice Month. I know we were plugging it there beforehand. It's always a hell of a month if you're going to jump on board as well. So patreon.com/grapple, youtube.com/@grapple.
Listen to us, watch us live every show this month. We'll be live on the Patreon. That'll be at a new start of a new era in Grapple Patreon. So loads of stuff out there. But unless there's anything else, that's it. Been a fun show. Check all that out. Anything else to say, JP?
All I have to say is bye.
Yeet.
English. I suppose. I get the sunglasses on. Good night, Tom. Oh, I meant to play the music. I forgot.